Alright, so I'm gonna leave you guys in the main room to in the main room, you guys will sit here with Anthony and Abraham. Yes, what's yours? What are you guys doing? Probably funny. Or maybe. Alright, the floor is yours. Alright.
Okay, so first things first, guys, I promise we are better tutors than we are at tech. And I keep in mind we're the two techies here, so that says a lot. So just for reference, so you guys know, I don't really know why the camera's doing that. Cause like I wanted to like see if that was the case. It's gonna be facing here. So if you guys could like move towards the front just to see if like the camera kind of like follows like us instead for the people on Zoom. Like you guys in the back. And if it doesn't, that's okay. You guys can hear. We're gonna be screen sharing anyways.
Maybe I can get its attention. No.
Do you think? Alright. I guess keep it on.
Yeah.
Okay, wait.
I'm just like.
Yeah, but it's not gonna go.
Turn the camera off.
It needs.
Turn it off. No, that it moves automatically.
Yeah, but we're trying to see if we can focus on Tony and me.
What?
It's good.
Wait, okay, hold on, wait. Wait, go down. Up. Go up. Okay, up. A little more.
Down, not down. Down.
Okay, wait.
Oh,
There we go.
Okay, see, now let's see.
oh,
It's focusing.
okay, wait, whatever.
Alright, Abraham,
Okay.
Very too short.
Perfect.
I don't know, I'm not
The
sure.
other way.
Okay, so whatever. Do that. Follow.
That way, that way.
Okay, we got it. Okay, sorry about that. We have to get some camera attention because otherwise we're gonna have a really. So first things first, in terms of so you guys know like our qualifications, I have a 790 in math. I don't know if he has math. I think so. Same thing. So the scale is out of 800. So you guys are in good hands, I think. Sorry about the yapping. That's probably what I was saying. We're also yappers, but a little less. That's why we got a math section. So we're gonna start kind of with the algebra. I have a slideshow for you guys. Mine's geometry. And before we start, I just want to say something really quickly. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, when you guys open your score distributions, right? It'll say like at the top, like I said before, kind of like how many questions are in the section. So when you look, the algebra and advanced math are going to be the ones that are weighted highest, but then the what they call like kind of the like higher level thinking, which is things like statistics, probability, graph analysis, all that stuff, and geometry, they're like 5 to 7 questions as opposed to like 10 to 14, right? Here's the issue. Even though geometry and like probability slash like statistics are like less shown on the test itself, that's where most kids kind of like have the most issue because they don't think to study it because it is so little, but then it pops up at the very end and then it ends up ruining their score. Right. And the reason I mention this is because I don't know if you guys know this, the SAT has 3 types of difficulty. So like I'm not even joking, College Board themselves, the College Board themselves quite literally has it outlined as easy, medium, and hard, right? So why would you like?
Yeah, why is it always?
Why is it following me?
Bye.
Because you're the biggest object.
Real. You have the strongest presence. Bye. Okay.
It feels like the Truman Show.
Okay. So, what I was gonna say, the College Board literally has 3 separate difficulties: that easy, medium, and hard. Okay. The reason this matters is because when you miss certain questions, the amount that it drops your score is dependent on the difficulty that it was. So, for example, my last SAT, I got a 1560. okay? I completely missed, I'm talking, I didn't even have time to answer the last two questions, just because I was like making sure that my other ones were okay, because I was not confident on them, right? Here's the thing, even though I completely missed the last two questions, I got a 790, because those were classified as difficult questions that you're not expected to know. Okay, this is important because if you answer the difficult questions, it's gonna make it harder for you to lose points. If you can't answer the difficult questions, it's not gonna hurt you as much as if you were to make a mistake on the easy questions. Does that make sense? Okay, if I'm talking really fast, let me know. I'm like a little turtle, so you know, I drink a lot of coffee, so make sure you guys like slow me down if I'm going too fast. And on the Zoom, you guys too, just like let me know, thumbs down or something. And I'm gonna leave you in his capable hands, until I start with geometry, so. Tony. Back on. Alright.
We don't want to do it screen, right?
No, do your thing.
Alright, so first, I'm gonna be helping you guys with algebra, and then we're gonna be going over to geometry now. Okay, this first question is more statistics, so we're just gonna be doing the algebra questions now, but.
Okay, for anyone that doesn't know, this is practice test number 7,
Yeah.
so. For algebra, he's just gonna kind of give you a preview, so think of it as like a baseline. But as opposed to you doing it yourself, he's gonna kind of like guide you through the algebra questions. My part is an actual like breakdown of the geometry questions, because the structure is what kills most people when it comes to geometry, okay? So we're gonna be a little different, he's gonna be teaching for like 30 to 40 minutes-ish, and then mine's gonna be the same thing, okay?
45 minutes, that's
Alright, like. You guys might have like different, you guys might be at different places at mapping or in algebra, but what I'm gonna do here is I'm just going to like. Go through each question that's like algebra and try to like walk you guys through it, and then actually like. In the future sessions, like next week, when we're actually in that like Monday, Wednesday. You know, routine, I'm gonna start like, I'm gonna be able to start from the start and go on the basics, and then be able to like transition more towards the advanced math and all that. But, okay, yeah, first, we're gonna be. Going in absolute value equation. Whatever. So. First, for absolute value equations, I like to just like think about it first, so. Absolute value, that's gonna mean that whatever is P, whatever that variable is. It's just gonna end up being positive. So, any number P added to 61 is 65, or at the absolute value of any number. So. For any of these types of problems, first you're gonna wanna isolate the kind of. You wanna isolate what's in the brackets, so I wanna have this alone. So I'm gonna do. First you. Can you see if you can find like the actual marker or something? But plus 61 equals 65, right? So first, what I wanna do, I wanna isolate. This kind of absolute value term, so I'm gonna subtract both sides by 61. So, the absolute value P is equal to 4, right? Now. Like, every time you do an absolute value equation, you're gonna
They
get.
can't see what you're doing.
You have to do,
You have to do the 3 dots. Hold on.
Oh, you're right.
wait, try and do the marker down there.
On Zoom, can you see? Can you see what I wrote?
Need a verbal yes, guys.
Oh, wait, let me put this.
You guys can see that, like the happy face? Yeah, well, I can see it this way. Yes, we're good.
Yeah, thanks.
We're good.
Alright, I'm sorry about that, guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and write that again, so. First. One. Alright, so first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna isolate that absolute value term. So we're gonna subtract 61 on both sides. And that's gonna end up with the absolute value of P equals 4. So now. Here, what we're gonna do, when we get to this step, because for all absolute value equations, you're gonna get somewhere where one side of the equation is just an absolute value term. What you're gonna do you're gonna turn this into two different things. And what you're gonna do, you're gonna keep the P on the left. And then you're gonna change the sign of the right side. So first I'm gonna have just P equals 4. And for the second answer, I'm gonna put P equals, I'm gonna put what's on the right side, but I'm gonna change the sign. So I'm just gonna put equals negative. And basically what you're gonna see here is that this is gonna be your two answers to the equation, right? So P equals 4 and P equals -4. And then if we actually plug it into the equation and we check, absolute value of 4 is 4 plus 61 is 65. Absolute value of -4 is 4. So you have 61 and 65. So those are gonna be the two answers to the equation, but then we actually have to say the answer choices, and then 4 is going to be the applicable answer.
Tony, how about dozens?
Decimals, oh, yeah. So obviously, you should know how to like do things algebraically, but the SAT, but that's most SAT. So if I were to literally just
Sixty-one.
3, 1, 2, 5. And what you'll see here is on -4 and 4. Sometimes you can see it's being weird, it's not actually like clicking, so what I'll do, I'll zoom in and see that it's actually on 4. Or what I'll do, sometimes that works, I'll put y equals 0. So I'll be able to go down on the intersection, but it doesn't work sometimes. But yeah, you can hold it down there, and you can just see it's 4.
So, I would say something really important about the SAT is going to be, at least for math,
Yeah.
and the algebra portion is doesn't, so. There's a lot of questions like this that literally, look, we literally just plugged in the question they gave us. And look, it's like already solved, right? So the SAT, the other thing about the SAT, it's also a question of time, right? So because you have limited amounts of time. Something like Desmos can help you save a lot of time, and then things that might look a lot, they're not might be, but are definitely very difficult to solve, online. You'll, sorry, by hand, using Desmos is gonna save you a ton of time.
Alright. So yeah, honestly, obviously, you do wanna know how to be able to do it if like. You're ever in a tough situation, but usually you're gonna wanna minimize like the time you take for each individual question with that. So. So we're gonna go on to. Lorenzo purchased a box of cereal and some strawberries at the grocery store. Lorenzo paid $2 for the box of cereal and $1.90 per pound for the strawberries. I'm gonna go ahead and highlight that. I was. Want to make sure to highlight like what costs what, so $2 for the box of cereal and $1.90 per pound of the strawberries. So Lorenzo paid a total. Lorenzo paid a total of $9.60, and then I'm also gonna underline that for the same money. Paid a total of $9.60 for the cereal and the strawberries. So for everything he paid $9.60. So which of the following equations can be used to find P, the number of pounds of strawberries Lorenzo produced? So this is gonna be like one of the classic examples of one of the things that you cannot just plug into those. So usually like on every SAT, you'll get like a word problem where you have to make up just a linear equation, right? And so here, you just need to be able to identify the common things to be able to make that like, line that's gonna be y equals mx plus b, right? But then obviously in this situation, the variable is p. So while we're finding our slope, we're gonna want to pay attention for words that are like per this, per pound, or things that happen regularly with every like hour, things like that. So then when I identify here, and per pound, I'm gonna want to go to 1. 0.9p already, that's just like the conclusion I would come to, but. And then obviously. The end is going to equal 960 because it says he paid a total of $9.60. So I'm gonna wanna put that at the end. And I'm gonna, go again. He paid $2 for the box of cereal, and then here's this, P is the pound of strawberries, right? So $1.90 per pound, 190, P is gonna be 190 per pound. Because P is what represents the pound, so you multiply that. And then the 2 is just going to be like. That is the base cost. So he's not like the amount of cereal he got doesn't depend on the pounds. And what we're trying to do here is make a relationship based on how many pounds of strawberries he has. If you think about it, him getting 3 strawberries or 2 pounds of strawberries doesn't change the price of the box of cereal. So that I would just add it, so plus 2, right? But for this term, 1.9p. You actually have to pay $1.90 per pound of strawberries. P is the amount of strawberries you purchased. So if I plug in on the number of pounds I purchased, this should be the price that I paid. And then at the end, the price you paid was $9. So in the end, our formula will be 1.9p plus 2 equals 9. So this is one of the ones that you can't really like, you actually really have to understand this topic and actually understand how to like apply linear equations. But we're definitely gonna be like going more in depth on that, and like each of these topics, we're probably gonna have like a whole day for linear functions and like systems. Each of these separate topics, we're gonna be able to go more into. So if you feel like you're kind of lost right now, don't worry, because we're definitely gonna be able to go more into that.
This is like more like
yeah.
a general introduction
Yeah.
as to what the SAT math questions look like. So something else I like to say about the SAT math is. There's usually gonna be, as far as algebra is concerned, I would say 3 types of question. A, something that they'll just show you a graph and they'll have you solve it. B, something that you have to decode like this. It all boils down to the same algebraic principles of y equals mx plus b. And I think it's a matter of I think once you understand. How do I get all this like blob of information and how do I turn it into an equation? Then that part of the process, then you're like, a lot of these questions are gonna be a lot easier because. I would say the hardest part of a lot of these questions is that. You have a lot of information, and you have to see what do I need to figure out through here, right? So it's about finding also examples. So like one example I like to give, for example, with the y equals mx plus b thing. It's like, okay, imagine that you're running a race, right? And you start 50 meters ahead of a person, right? And then you're running 50, so you start 50 meters ahead, you're running at the same speed, is that person ever gonna catch up to you? No, right? Because you're running at the same speed, but you're running ahead of them, right? So that kind of has to do with this, because if you like look at something they might ask you with slopes, it's like, okay, if 2 people have the same slopes, but a y-intercept, are they ever gonna intersect? No, so it's like the same situation, right? The situation I gave with the runners, it's the same thing as the y equals mx plus b. So finding situations and like real life scenarios, which helps you understand the math, I think is also really good.
Alright. Thank you, Fabio, for kind of adding that, and we're gonna move on to. Bar graph, that's more problem solving, so.
Try on. Number 17.
Oh, okay.
Well, I can still see it, but it's blurry on my screen. Well, the computer's about to take off. Like,
Yeah,
and
like-
it's like. Is that it?
Okay, great. Yeah, we're done. So. Gonna go ahead and read question 6, so. A line in the xy plane has a slope of 9, so. Always wanna look out for keywords like slope, y-intercept, kind of things that are gonna like indicate something that might be the answer to the question. So a slope of 9, so I'm already gonna write here m equals 9, because that's like, I always like to like. If I find something in kind of like the text of the word problem, I wanna write it on like kind of the side. Just to be able to like just see, oh, I know m equals 9 without actually having to search for it. I'm just gonna write here m equals 9. And then it says it passes through the point 0, -5. So that's also useful information I can make already here. I could start making the equation for line, but I don't want to like get ahead of myself. You always have to read the question first. So the equation y equals px plus r defines line. So if we actually like pay attention to that, we can see that it says px, but I know the equation for a line is y equals mx plus b. So I know here that my slope is p and my y-intercept is r, right? Those are just like letters they're using to confuse you. This is the slope, this is the y-intercept. And now it's asking, what is the value of p? The p there, like I said, that's gonna be the slope. And if it's just asking for p, then I know the slope is 9, so I'm just gonna write p. So this is kind of an example of one of those problems where they're really just trying to confuse you, because here they put a bunch of kind of like constants and stuff. But this is like really one of the first things you learn in algebra, that the slope is like y equals, or that the line is y equals mx plus b, and then m is gonna be your slope. Here, they're just like putting another letter to confuse you, but in reality, you just have to be able to identify that px plus r is mx plus b. I'm gonna go ahead and go to 7 now. Before that's. Oh, great. So, what is an x coordinate of an x-intercept of the graph of, and then it gives us the equation for a graph. So I could do this with math, but really, I could think about this, but literally I'm just going to, it's a y equals y equals 3. Oh, just a little tip for decimals, guys. Make sure you're not putting like capital letters, because if you see here, I put little x and then big X. It's not actually going to register that as well. 13 equals 5 equals 4, right? And if I draw that. Yeah, decimals, sure, whatever. Because. Alright, so if I look at the question is asking me, what is an x coordinate of an x-intercept? If I know what an x-intercept is, then this question is very easy. So when we have a coordinate, the x-intercept is gonna be where the graph hits the x-axis. So this is an x-intercept, this is an x-intercept, this is an x-intercept. So it's asking us for the x coordinate of the x-intercept. So if I look here, the x coordinates of the x-intercept, I don't know what's going on here, so I just ignore that, but this is the x-axis. You see, there are x-intercepts at -5, -4, here at 14. Obviously, if you knew that these are the roots of the polynomial, and then this is going to be the x-intercept, which is 14, -5, -4. Obviously, you could do that, but at the end of the day, just plugging in into Desmos is gonna be able to show you the answer much quicker, and then you won't like have to do that mental math, you know. The graph shown gives the estimated value in dollars of a tablet as a function of the number of months. What is the best interpretation of the y-intercept of the graph in this problem? So the question is to interpret the y-intercept. So we just talked about the x-intercept. The x-intercept is where it hits the x-axis. The y-intercept is where it hits the y-axis. So this y-axis, the y-intercept is right here. But it's asking us in this situation, what is the y-intercept? So this is going to be again kind of more interpretation of linear functions, right? So it says that the graph is the estimated value in dollars. So the y-axis, if it's telling me that the graph shows me something, then what it shows is usually the dependent variable. So the y-axis is going to show the dollars, right? And it shows you here. And it's after, it's the value of the tablet, so how much money it costs, a certain amount of months after it was purchased. But it's asking, what is the y-intercept here? If I look, the y-intercept is just what the value was at 0 months. So it's gonna be the value when you bought it, when you bought the tablet. So if I check each question, the estimated value of the tablet was $225 when it was purchased. I can see here $225 when it was purchased. So in this situation, A would be the correct answer. So. In this situation, you just need to be able to like identify that in linear functions, the y-intercept is going to be the y value like at x = 0. So that's, and then you see, obviously, they're going to give it to you in like a complex word problem, but at the end of the day, they're always just going to be testing you for like one concept or like multiple concepts. You just need to be able to identify like, what they're testing you on to be able to do better in that way. Here, that I was able to see that it was y-intercept, so I was just able to see what I was reading. Geometry. So this is another one. Let's start with it. So the function f is defined by f of x equals 1/2 of x plus x. What is the value of x? So here it's asking us to plug in a value to a function. So here it's asking us for f of 4. What that means is it's asking us to put in x equals 4 into the function f of x equals 1/2 x plus 6. So f of 4 is going to be equal to this, but instead of x, I'm putting 4. So 1/2 4 plus 6. I know that's going to be 1/2 times 10, so I know the answer is going to be 1. So this one is also just like trying to see if you know how to like plug things into expressions. It's just a function and you plug it in. And then here we have the graph of a system of an absolute value and a linear function is shown. What is the solution to the system of two equations? So basically, this one is just asking you, it's asking you about your knowledge of systems of equations in general, because a system of two equations is just when two equations are on a graph together, right? And then the solution to a system of equations, whatever functions they are, linear, whatever, the solution is going to be where they intersect. So here, where they intersect, so that's going to be the solution to the system of equations, and I can see it's asking us what is the solution. I just have to see what is this point. It's going to be -3.5 and 4.5. So -7/2 and 9/2. I can see -7/2 is negative 3.5 and 9 over 2 is 4.5. Something else. Okay. So this one is more solutions of the linear. So one of the two equations in the linear equation, in the system of linear equations, so. Hold on, I'm doing that, the system of equations, right? So the system has infinitely many solutions, right? So I said, the solution to a system of equations, so pretend. Pretend this is coordinate system, there are two graphs. Right? The solutions are gonna be where they intersect, so solutions like it's here, here. Here, right? But if it says the system has infinitely many solutions, then it's gonna be two lines. That are literally right on top of each other, because a solution is where it intersects, and if there's infinite solutions, then it has to be on top of each other. So it's asking us which equation could be the second equation. Yeah. If it has infinitely many solutions, then they have to be the same graph, because they're on top of each other. So now I can kind of identify that what this is asking is just for an equation that's the same as that. Because if the system has infinitely many solutions, the two equations are the same. So now I'm gonna check here, A, it's 2 times 6x, so it's not the same equation. 2 times the entire thing, not the same equation. 2y and then only 2 times the first term, so it's not an equation. But then this one, it multiplies both sides by 2. So that's going to be an equivalent, like it's an equal expression, you know? Like because they multiply both sides by 2, it still isn't the same equation because they did the same thing to it. It's kind of like what we're doing when we're trying to solve for x in algebra. It's still the same equation. So because they did the same thing to both sides, D would be the answer. So now we're gonna go down to 13. This is another one of the hard ones to give you. Just have to be able to find 7p. There are two ways you'll be able to do this. You would either find p and then do p times 7. Sometimes in the problem, you'll just be able to like find 7p. Like it in the equation when you're solving, you'll literally see 7p. So then you don't actually have to solve for p and then multiply by 7 because you literally need to have 7p. I'm just gonna go ahead and see how it's works. So 54 minus 18, just because I'm trying to isolate p. It's 7 p equals 36. So and then you just use that result. That's fine. I mean, I could have used it from the start. But 7p equals 36. I think he knows the points. This is. It's 7p equals 36. Oh, and another thing for Desmos. In Desmos, you can only put x and y. So if it's telling you something like 7p, I can't put p. If I put p, it's gonna tell me to add a slider and like this is not what I wanted. So you have to put x and then you actually be able to get what you want. Equals 36. Right. And here. See that the answer is 42, right? But then I can't just say 42 because the question is what is the value of 7? So I have to do 42 times 7, and the answer is 200. Any questions about this one or any? Oh.
I don't understand the answer.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, my situation is a little different. I'm John Lee, and I have a cute slideshow for y'all that includes like practice stuff, but it's more so. Mine's kind of trying to give you an overview because today's day one, and I don't want to bombard you with content because I'm not abusive. So this is gonna be, it is gonna have questions, but I'm gonna more so show you how easy geometry can be, as long as you know what to do and what to use. So hopefully it'll be a little more of a pleasant experience. Let me here. And then, okay. So otherwise, it's like that. Okay.
No worries.
Board is actually, guys, I'm telling you, this like never happens, the board is actually really great today, but you know what, it's okay, whatever. So geometry problems are classified by College Board themselves into 4 categories, okay? So these are like area and volume, lines, angles, and triangles, right triangle trigonometry, and then down here, because you can see it, it's gonna be circles, okay? So I want you to keep that in mind because I understand this, and I think, you know, it's great that College Board, you know, tries their best, but I think that there are 2 ways that we could generally classify these geometry questions, and I call them the seeing questions, and then the building questions. And I think the seeing is easier, generally, I'm gonna show you what I mean now. And then the building questions are generally harder. So the seeing questions are the ones that are gonna require you kind of analyzing something. So when you see like a random triangle, or you see that crazy gibberish where it's like one line going this way, one line going that way, 2 lines going like that, you know, where you have to analyze the situation to actually solve the problem. The building questions are the ones where they tell you there's a rectangle of side 2p and the other side p and da da da. The ones you have to build yourself, okay? So College Board themselves, and I'm gonna show you now, they tend to classify these as harder. So when you see these, I'm just referring you right now. These are probably going to give you essentially like more points, quote unquote, if you solve them right, but it's also gonna not ruin your score as much if you get them wrong, okay? So I just want you to keep that in mind.
Graham,
Yeah.
the screen is stuck on what Anthony was showing us. Like I can't see anything.
Thank you so much for telling me that.
Oh, damn.
Wait,
Just stop sharing them for sure.
yeah. Hold on, guys. Stop share. Alright, let me share again. Hi Megan, how you doing?
Oh, let me get out.
Alright, can you guys see that? Is it cutesy? Do you see it? Is it wonderful?
Black.
Bruh, what do you mean?
Oh, I can see it now.
You
Thanks.
see it? Okay. Awesome. Okay, perfect. There we go. Okay. Just to make sure, can you guys on Zoom see it?
Wait, it's like, look. Oh. It's so lagging.
It's a little behind, but you can see this, right?
Yeah. This is, oh, okay, perfect, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the seeing questions. So most of the right triangles and trigonometry questions are gonna be in the seeing section. So those are the ones where you guys are gonna see either one triangle inside another, or they're gonna have 2 triangles combined forming different shapes. So this is where you're gonna see most of these types of questions, right? However, actually, let me just show you. So this is exhibit A. We're gonna come back to it later once we revisit the formulas, because I want to show you guys how easy it is to solve this. And I mean like a literal like minute at like max. So I just wanted to show you guys though, this is what College Board considers, or what I consider a seeing question. So we have a triangle, a circle, right? You don't have to draw anything here. And I want you to keep this in mind because these are also different difficulties, right? So the first one over here is gonna be very basic. It's gonna be like an algebraic calculation of like you finding, you know, area, which is like 1/2 base times 10, right? This is nothing like complicated, right? But then here we have more of like a medium question, where you have one side, one angle, and they're asking you to solve for the value of tan A. So they're not asking you for like a side, they're not asking you for an angle, they're asking you for the value of a tangent of an angle, okay? So here we have what I consider to be the hardest type of question, where they do manipulations, okay? So you see the circle, and you might be tempted, if it's like an answer choice, to put, you know, an equation that'll get you this circle. But they're not asking you for that. They're asking you what happens if you shift the circle down, and if you double the radius, right? So these are the things that you have to keep in mind when you're solving these kinds of questions. What are they actually asking you to do? Because in geometry, they can ask you for something simple, but they can also ask you what happens if you double this side, if you double the radius, if you triple the surface area, stuff like that. And again, we're gonna go into like all this when we actually go over topics. Today is more of an introductory thing to kind of get you guys to understand what College Board and the SAT want from you. And how some questions you can literally pop out as long as you use like the reference sheet that they literally give you. So like I said, these are very easy points to like earn. You don't really have to stress about like most of the scene questions. Circles are a little bit of exception, but we'll leave that for later. So, okay, I wanted to give you guys this example, and we're gonna come back to once we have a formula because I want to show you guys something later. But like when I ask you like, what do you see, right? So some of you might say like just a circle. Some of you might say, okay, well, there's a triangle in the middle too, right? But when it comes to geometry, you have to think of not just what's like very blatantly in front of you, but also the things that maybe are less obvious. So this triangle that you have over here is also a sector, right? Because let me actually see if I can grab this. I'm curious. I mean, that'd be nice. Oh, I can. Okay. Okay. So this triangle over here is also part of. Oh, maybe I can. Okay, okay. This triangle right here is also part of this larger sector over here, right? So it's some of those things where you can't just go based off of like first impressions alone because it's not going to get you anywhere with geometry. The point of geometry and what College Board is testing you on is whether you can make connections. So we're gonna talk a little bit more about that now, but I want to get out of here first because that thing is missing out. Okay. Okay, so that's exactly what I was saying right now. You have to not only know terminology, and I'm talking terminology, formulas, etc. Like what's a supplementary angle, what's a supplementary angle, but you also have to be able to apply the geometric rules. And these are things that I'm kind of like breezing through because geometry, it's one of those things that looks really, really complicated on the surface level, but I promise you it gets so much easier. I think after our first like actual lesson I'm covering content, you guys are gonna have a much easier time solving this. The most common mistake that I see on the scene question, and this is really important, people jump the gun, okay? Or basically, you see two lines like this. You see a few angles in between, and you're solving for X, okay? Kids, they maybe get one answer. So let's say they get the angle right next to X, and they think that's the answer, they plug it in, and they like put it in, they move on to the next question. You have to remember what you're solving for. Because what college board and what the SAT will often do is that they're gonna have you do things in steps. So you're not gonna get to the angle that you need or the side length that you need right away. You're gonna have to go through a tangent. You're gonna have to go through two angles. You're gonna have to find the hypotenuse of this before you get the side length, right? And that's what they get. They want you to, when you're under pressure, get confused to make these kinds of mistakes, right? And that's where you lose really easy points. All right. So the building question. So this is the majority of the questions that you're gonna see, and I have proof of that right now, but like we're gonna get to that now. The circles, lines, angles, and triangles, and area and volume questions are mainly here. I'm not saying you won't find them in like scene questions, like we had a circle question before, but they're mainly gonna be here. And the reason that's important is because there are a lot of equations that aren't on your reference sheet. So I have a few written down there, but I'm actually going to be making like a cram sheet kind of, and I'm going to be putting it either on Google Classroom or on the website for you guys. But it's going to be like comprehensive because College Board, they give you like a false sense of security. They show you the reference sheet and they expect you to like know what to do with it. But they don't tell you that half of the stuff that you have to use isn't on there. Okay. So the reason I'm showing you this is not that I want you guys to solve any of this right now. We're going to come back to it. But the other example that I gave, those were the scene questions, quote unquote, from practice test number 6. Okay, this is like official practice test from the SAT. Okay, this is all. So these 4 and these 4 are all from practice test 7. So just for you guys to realize, like they have 8 questions. Keep in mind, SAT kind of likes to lie a little bit. They'll say 5 to 7 for a lot of categories. That's not true. They like to give that as like a general thing, but a lot of the time you're gonna see a lot of like word problem geometry that's gonna be like 7 questions, 8 questions, 9 questions. So prepare to have a little more geometry than you actually think. And they're also leaning more towards geometry lately, so be a little careful with that. But there's a lot more word problems. Like a lot more word problems than, if you get like a triangle question or a circle question that like they actually show it to you. The chances of that happening nowadays are a little rare. So you have to prepare yourself to not just see these and like start freaking out and not know what to do. You have to know how to approach these questions. Okay. This is exactly what I said here, right? So these are going to show up more often than not. So you have to prepare for these. I wouldn't as much prepare to analyze as I would to practice how you manipulate it and how you would draw something yourself. That's a skill that you guys have to master, and I'm gonna like guide you through that on. Okay, the most common mistake in this section. This one kills a lot of people too. You forget vocab under pressure or you skip the diagram drawing. And I say this because with these word problems, they're not going to tell you this angle plus this angle equals 90 degrees. They're going to tell you they're complementary. They're not going to tell you this angle plus this angle equals 180. They're going to tell you they are supplementary. And if you like, and this happens to anyone, if you're under pressure and you forget these specific vocabulary things, you're going to mess up. The other thing, skipping the diagram drawing. I've been victim of this because a lot of the time they give you examples where they have two triangles, or they ask you to draw a triangle. They tell you they're similar, or they tell you angles A, B, C, D, E, whatever are similar. If you don't draw them out, you're going to get lost, or you're going to mess up, or you're going to mislabel in your mind. And that's where again you make these like really dumb mistakes. And that's the thing that you'll find about the SAT. It's not that they're testing whether or not you know the knowledge; they're testing whether or not you can apply it under pressure. And that's what kills kids, because even if you could study for hours and hours a day, but if you don't practice under 10 conditions, or if you don't practice like the actual steps that you have to take to approach a certain question, even if you know it conceptually, you're not going to be able to actually pump it out when you're sitting down and when you have to take the test. Okay, I wanted to put this in here as a little note. The intersection between algebra and geometry. You can't approach them individually, because when you're solving geometry questions, they're going to ask you that, they're going to tell you that the angle is called x. And you're gonna have to do algebra to find x. They're gonna tell you in a circle. Every circle equation is gonna be in the form, I'm gonna put it right now, it's gonna be the form x minus h squared plus plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Like that's just the formula that you have to know. But this is algebra. So kids a lot of the time try to isolate the two. Algebra and geometry are gonna go hand in hand when you're studying for the SAT. And if you neglect algebra, you're gonna be neglecting geometry. And that's why we started with algebra first, so you guys could just kind of get a taste of like how it is to like practice algebra and how to get used to it, because you're gonna need it here. Even though in my opinion, geometry is gonna be easier for you guys to understand later on. I just want you guys to know that, because a lot of kids try to approach separately, and then that kills them too because they can't draw connections.
So we all dead because we've been killed like 10 times already. We've been killed 10 times already.
What do you?
Everything kills us.
Buddy, I don't understand what you're saying. Anyways, moving on. Formulas and notations. Okay, so geometry has a lot of formulas and it has a lot of terms that you need to know. And I'm going to show you right now the reference sheet that you actually get on the exam. So, guys, this is in the corner of Blue Book. When you open Blue Book, when you have your SAT, when you do a practice test, you're going to see in the little corner over here, it's going to say reference sheet. I don't have it open right now. When you click that, this will pop up. Why do I say this? For algebra, it doesn't really matter. Do you see any algebra on here? Except for like, letters, you don't see any, you don't have, y equals mx plus b, you don't have anything else. This is pure geometry, pure geometry. And the reason this is important is because kids forget it's there. And you solve half of the questions in the geometry section with just this. And the reason that I bring this up is I'm going to show it to you right now. The questions that we brought up before, okay? For the people on Zoom, try and listen audibly, because I really don't want to mess up the screen share. I'm gonna try and see, can I do it here?
Well, you can annotate on the Zoom screen. Like
over here?
yeah, click annotate.
Okay. And this is gonna cause me issues, or is it gonna work on?
No, they should be able to see it.
Alright, can they see it? Can someone tell me if you see it on Zoom?
Well, no,
You deleted
You
it.
can see it?
I didn't see it.
No, yeah, I did it, but
Try again.
you see that?
Yeah,
You see it? Okay.
Oh, yeah, because it's a little.
so
Okay, awesome.
That was cool.
Okay. So we go back to this formula sheet, okay? I'm gonna give you, let's see, we're gonna solve. Let's go for something that's a little like tiny bit hard. So let's go for this one, okay? When you first see this, or when you saw this 5 minutes ago when I brought it up, you might have seen that you have one angle and one side, and you're like, okay, what am I supposed to do with that? Like I'm freaking out, like I don't know what to do. Because at the end of the day, I mean, this is 90 degrees. This is just a notation, the little square means 90. But you don't really get anywhere from that because you're like, oh, what do I actually have to work with? Right? But then you remember that this limit exists. Special right triangles. There are a few little tips and tricks that you're gonna wanna know for the SAT, and one of them is special right triangles and Pythagorean triples. Okay. I assume most of you guys know the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Do you know what that is? Yeah, okay. So there are a few sets of sides that are always going to give you a Pythagorean triangle. So I'm gonna give you the example 3, 4, 5, right? So if you have a side that's 3 and you have a side that's 4, the hypotenuse is always gonna be 5. Right? If you have a side that's oh yeah, so okay, multiples also work. So if you multiply everything by 2, right? So if you have a side that's 6, you have a side that's 8, the hypotenuse is gonna be 10, right? So there are these little like tips, these little things that College Board, they expect you to know, but they don't really tell you. And one of those is right here, right? Kids forget about this section. This is really important. If you see that you have a right angle and you have a 30-degree angle, right? Then we know that this special right triangle like scenario works, right? So if we go back to this question, what do we have? We have a 30-degree, we have a 90-degree. And just by the fact that we know that the sum of the angles in a triangle is 180, we know that this is 60. This is the exact same triangle that was right on the formula sheet. Okay, well, here it says that when this is the case, when we have 30, 60, 90, then the hypotenuse is 2x, the short side is x, and the slightly longer side is x squared root 3. Why does this matter? Well, we go over here, all we have to do is think of the formula, right? So if the hypotenuse is 2x, then we know that 2x is 54, right? So let me just write that down. So we know that this is 2x. We know that this is x, and we know that this is x squared root 3. And again, I got that only from the formula that's on the reference sheet. I didn't do any extra math. This is just things that they tell you, but they kind of want to hide it from you a little bit, right? So if we know that 54 is 2x, then if we divide 54 by 2, we know that x is 27. This is basic algebra. So if we know that x is 27, then we know that this side right over here is already 27. We already have that side solved. And what about this side? Well, this side is the same thing. If we know that x is 27, then this side down here is 27 square root 3. Again, I only use what's on the reference sheet. I didn't bring out anything from this line. Nothing. Okay. So now, here's where you actually have to start applying stuff. So it asks you for the value of tan A. Okay. So this is where you're going to want to use, and I have it put later on, but you know, I'm going to just write it here for all of you that are like actively in class. SOHCAHTOA, right? I'm sure you guys already know this. If you don't, it means that sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. Okay. So if they're asking us for tan A, well, A is this angle right here. So they're asking us for the opposite over the adjacent. Well, the opposite is this, and the adjacent is this. So if you look, it's asking us for x squared root 3 over x. We could plug in and put that it's 27 over 3 over 27. But we can already see right now that this cancels. And again, if we actually plug in the numbers that we got before, so 27 over 3 over 27, the 27 cancels. And our answer is square root 3. And I did most of that with very simple geometry, because all I did was get the reference sheet, plug in the numbers, and then use SOHCAHTOA, right? And I'm gonna give you another example. Okay, you know what? I'm not gonna go through the whole over right now. This is actually making me bad. Take this as like a mental break. Okay. All right. I'm gonna go back to this question now, but this is what they don't tell you. I had to put it in this format because otherwise Canva was gonna beat me up. But I'm gonna put an actual like comfortable little cram sheet for you guys that's gonna actually make sense. These are the formulas that are missing, and these are just a part of the formulas that are missing. Okay. And so this is the equation of circle, the one that I mentioned before. This is the sector area, which is equal to the circle area over 360 times pi r squared. Arc length, again, I know that I have like acronyms here. I'm gonna go over them later on in detail when we're actually covering these topics. But I just want to expose you guys to the fact that they don't tell you this. This is what's hidden from you, and this is what you have to bring in from outside knowledge when you go into the SAT. Because yeah, the reference sheet helps a lot, like we just saw, but you know, we have to use SOHCAHTOA too. You know, we have to know some of these things. One that doesn't show up a lot that kids often miss, and I'm only gonna bring it up, I'm not gonna work with it today, is the distance formula. This one is super important because as of late, they've been putting more graphs and they're just plainly telling you find the distance. And if you have to do, you know, a squared plus b squared, Okay, it might work if you know this is 3, this is 4, but if they give you a bunch of random decimals here, they give you a bunch of random decimals here, it's not gonna work, right? So you're gonna wanna think of the fact that the SAT is a time test. At the end of the day, that's what's hard, okay? Okay, so the reason I bring that up now. This question. This is the first question that we're gonna talk about right now, just because I think that kids see circle and they freak out. And I promise you it's the easiest thing ever, okay? We have this, right? A lot of kids see the K. I see a K and I freak out on the SAT because I'm gonna be so honest, if I see one more K constant, I'm gonna cry. Because they love putting random variables that don't make any sense, right? But here's the thing, you don't have to solve for anything in geometry. Not in terms of K, not here, not in this question. All that they're telling you is that this is the equation of the circle. What gives the center of the circle and its radius, right? Well, if we go back to the formula that we just covered, which is this first one right over here, right? X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. I'm going to cover this when we get to circles, but h and k is the circle. The h and k is the very, very center. And all this is the radius squared, okay? So just keep that in mind. If we go back over here, we have the exact same formula. We have x minus 13 squared plus y minus k squared equals 64. I could literally just rewrite this as x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals 64. I promise I'll get better with the handwriting situation once I figure out technology, but we'll get past that later. Okay, so you know, if h and k is our center, h is 13, k is k, and 64 is our r squared. So if we get the square root of r, we get the radius. If we get the square root of 64, we get the radius. Okay. So then we have the center is hk, which is 13k, and then our radius is the square root of 64, which is 8. And that is option, pardon me, I can't see right now. Okay, and that's literally option A. The center is at 13k and the radius is 8. And this was just from knowing the formula. We didn't really do math, you know. Can I just end this? Oh, they're all going. It's awesome. I'm learning. Okay, so I just want to show you guys that the geometry is the easiest thing to do, as long as you know the very, very basics. It's not like algebra where you have to do a lot of manipulation, you have to do a lot of like twisting and turning and like backbending to like find an answer. That's not geometry at all. Geometry is a very, very simple part of the test if you know what you're doing. So I just wanted to acknowledge that really quickly. Let's go back to select. There we go. Okay. I already went over this, but the reason I'm putting this out is because I'm going to show you guys how the SAT kind of scales their questions. Because if you see a question and you immediately know, okay, this is gonna be a difficult question, this is gonna be a hard question, this is gonna be an easy, a medium, then you're gonna know how much time you need. And this is important because you have to be strategic when you're doing the SAT, and you have to know what to skip, you have to know what to put off for later, you have to know what to do now to get those easy points, okay? Because like I said before, a difficult question is not gonna hurt you if you get it wrong. An easy question might hurt you more because you're expected to know these things, right? These are fundamentals. So you don't want to lose those easy points. Okay, so for area and volume, I'm only giving you a preview of foundations because that's the very first thing that we're gonna actually cover, like when I'm doing an actual in-depth like go over of geometry. But in the very first tier, in the very, very easy like tier, all I want you to do is know how to calculate volume and dimension in 2D and 3D, and then how to change those dimensions. So a question that killed a lot of people in the SAT that I took was one where they mentioned the scale factor of K. Nobody, well, not nobody, but a lot of people didn't know what to do when you changed X thing in like a cylinder to get the new volume. They didn't know how to manipulate. And that's the thing about the SAT. You want to know what happens when you change things in geometry. Because at the end of the day, yes, it's gonna be nice to know that a triangle is 1/2 base times height. But if you don't know what happens if you double the height of the triangle, then you don't really do much when it comes to like practical applications. So this is an example of an easy question that you'll see on the SAT when it comes to finding like area of volume, right? This is the easiest thing ever. It's literally just asking you for the volume of this prism. Literally length times width times height. This is like couldn't be easier. So don't worry about that. Now, I want to show you guys a medium question. So here, it's asking you for volume. But notice how instead of it being a simple prism like before, they upgraded. They chose, okay, it's going to be cylindrical. Instead of showing it to you, they're putting in a word problem so that you see more numbers, so that you see, oh, some people see centimeters squared and they think you have to square. I know a lot of people don't, but these are things that like some people genuinely get tripped on because they think, oh, the SAT is, you know, trying to trick me. They're trying to change things up. No, they're not. This is a unit. That doesn't matter to you at all, right? So these are things that you have to like, keep in mind when doing the SAT. They wanna get you to doubt yourself, you wanna go with your gut. You really wanna go with your gut on the SAT because that's what kills a lot of people, and this is a hard question. Now, what makes this a hard question? Well, let's see. What did they do in the medium? They changed us to a cylinder. And again, over here, we have a cylinder. They didn't give us an easy box, they didn't give us an easy shape, they gave us a harder one, right? Over here, instead of telling us that the height is 4, and they told us it's 4 inches longer. So here the algebra comes in, because now you're not having this strict number, now you're having x plus 4, right? And then they're asking you for optimization. So this is something that we're gonna get to. This is more like higher level stuff that we're gonna cover more at the end. But this is gonna be straight up algebra plus geometry. This, you have to be a master of both to actually solve this question. And then if you look at the answers, notice how they don't really have a lot of like clear numbers, right? They have a radius, so they have a variable, right? And then everything is a manipulation of that variable. You're either adding on to it, you're multiplying something to it, right? So that's how the SAT scales. It's not that they're gonna give you a longer question or a very, very like crazy one that's in your face. They might, but a lot of the time how they scale difficulty is they make things uncertain. They make things clear. They make things about changing, about rotating, about expanding, about contracting, about what if you add, what if you subtract, what if you divide. So you have to be prepared for that, because if you get too used to solving things like clear cut, like on Khan Academy, and you go, what's the volume of this prism? You're gonna be successful with the SAT, and I'm being just fully honest with you guys. But again, I hope to cover that here, so hopefully it won't be that big of a problem. Okay, congruent similarity and angles. This is another thing that's like very, very basic level. You're just gonna have to know, like what congruence is, what similarity is, and the rule. So I don't know if you guys remember this from geometry. Again, this thing I'm gonna go over, but things like SAS or triple side, like side angle side, set side, angle side, these like theorems. You're gonna just have to memorize them because they're probably gonna give you 2 triangles, so they're gonna describe 2 triangles. You guys are gonna have to know when they're congruent, when they're similar, and what you can do when they're similar and when they're congruent. So some terms to know. This wasn't the case for the other section, but here you do have to know these specific terms. Again, it's all gonna be posted for you guys. Congruent similarity, when there's supplementary angles. So supplementary, just so you guys know right now, it's pretty easy. It means the angles add up to 180. Complementary means they add up to 90. Vertical angles go like this. They're an X, a little crisscross. Again, I'm gonna go over all this. Parallel means like this. Perpendicular means they make 90-degree angles. Intersection, anything that crosses. And then proportionality means that this is like something else. So think like similar triangles. This triangle is like this triangle, but maybe with something added to it or with something multiplied by it. So they're gonna be similar maybe in terms of angles, but not sides. Sorry, I'm rushing by the way. We switched at 10:45 to the reading section because we want to get you guys like a taste of everything on this first day. So, if we had more time, I would like slow down and be chill and explain things more in detail, but that's not today. Okay. Now, these questions on the SAT, the reason I skip straight to hard is because you really won't see many easy or medium questions from this difficulty on the SAT. And the reason for that is because when you're working with similar triangles or congruent triangles, not only do you have to know that they're congruent or find that they're congruent or find that they're similar, but a lot of the times you have to know like you have to take it a step further and you have to know, okay, what is the same, what's different when they're similar, when they're congruent. And the reason this is important is because in this case, for example, they're telling you that we have a triangle, right? UVW, and they're telling you that there's a triangle RST. These are 2 separate triangles and they're similar to each other, but they give you sides, right? So in this case, you have to know, okay, if a triangle is similar to another triangle, then what's applicable? Okay, well, if they're similar, then that means that there's some sort of proportionality constant, which is that scale factor that I told you about before. That means that, like, one side, like, so let's say side RS over side ST is going to be equal to the same kind of like sides on the other triangle. I will draw this out, but again, for the sake of time, I can't really do that today, so we'll get there when we get there. But that's why these questions are gonna be hard, right? So I just wanna like prepare you guys for the fact that not every category you're gonna see an easy, a medium, or hard. You're not gonna see like a cookie cutter, like every single time you're gonna have an easy graph question. Every single time you're gonna have an easy triangle question, every single time you're gonna have an easy volume question, because that's not gonna happen. They can switch things up. And they have all three tiers, but they don't have all three tiers per category.
That's where the luck comes in with the test.
Yeah, that's also where a lot of kids like, we might do really well on one section of like one math SAT, but then in another, you might kind of flop, and it's literally just because you're better with, you know, harder questions that are geometry versus, oh, this one had a harder algebra section, right? And that's where score comes in, which you already talked about, but guys, you really want to make sure that if you do good on one SAT in math, but you do really bad on reading, study for reading for the next one. And if you bomb math, it doesn't matter because you can super score. So don't waste your time when you're studying. That's another thing. The SAT, yes, you have many tries, but at the end of the day, they're still spaced apart, right? So there's like an August SAT, the next one is September, the next one's in November, the next one's in da, right? So yes, there are many options, but at the end of the day, the clock is ticking. And you have to get these in before college applications or before scholarships or before other things like that.
So something I'll say here is be strategic as far as when you take the tests, right? What I mean by this, so a lot of schools are gonna do like the in-person SAT during school. So that's in October, like it's always in October, right? So maybe it's a good idea to sign up for the October SAT that's on a Saturday, so you take two SATs back to back.
I did that. It worked tremendously for me on my second one. I got the 1560. And I got it again later on because I did the same thing. So you guys want to make sure that if you are really like, if you study really hard for like an in-school one that's already, that you know is already gonna happen, put a Saturday one right after. Because the knowledge is gonna be in your mind, but the questions are not gonna change that much. They're gonna try to measure the same thing during the same time so that they can engage everyone's scores and make sure that everyone's like, you know, on the same level. Because if you have two completely different tests, then they don't know how to scale everyone. But if you, no, okay.
And then the PSAT, for example, is also in October, right? So like, if you're a junior, right, and you're trying to take the test, I would study and I would take the Saturday, October SAT. Your school might give you the in-person Saturday, like in-person in-school SAT, and you'll take the PSAT back to back to back. They literally use, like, I kid you not, the same questions. Like I remember reading some of the same exact passages from one test to another, and it was like a weekend apart. So like a week, but like it was like maybe I took this test on Saturday, I took the in-person SAT on a Tuesday or Thursday. And it was literally less than a week apart, and like passages were literally the same.
That's a really big tip. I also saw that on my PSAT and one of my SATs. Passages were the same. Questions were different. Passages were the same. And the type of questions that they asked, especially on the reading, were very similar in structure.
Or what they'll do is that they'll change the passage, but like for example, like I remember this one question I got on the test, and it was like. On the Saturday, it was like, it was about soccer teams, it was like Manchester United is a team in England or whatever, and then it gave the same passage, the same question, same structure. They just changed the team and the location, and it was literally the same question with the same answer.
So, you know, just like keep that in mind when you're planning what to do your SATs. Also, gonna take a quick break to tell you guys this because this is really important. When he was talking about national merit scholarships, so we're actually candidates for that, right? Because of our PSAT. Don't skip out on the PSAT if you haven't taken it already, because it is more important than you think. And another thing that I want to say, for national merit, they use a special index. This index multiplies reading double. Okay, so on my PSAT, I did better on the reading section than my math because that was just the day. That day I did amazing on my reading, got like the perfect score on reading. Cool. He did better than me overall by I think it was 10 or 20 points. I had a higher index by 3 or 4 points because my reading was multiplied by double. So when it comes to the PSAT, I don't know how many other classes we have here on the Zoom, but when it comes to the PSAT, stress reading, study a lot, because that's gonna raise your score and your index a lot. Because the index, what you need for your scholarship varies per year. So it depends on how everybody else does. So if everybody's doing good, then you have to do better. So just keep that in mind. This is foundation level trigonometry. Very easy. It's Pythagorean theorem, sine, cosine, tangent, and then trigonometric ratios and special right triangles. So that's what we mentioned in the formula sheet before. You have to know your 30, 60, 90. You have to know that this is 2x, this is x, this is x squared root 3, stuff like that. Just make sure you keep it in mind when you're gonna solve a question. And then this is one of the ones that we saw before that I'm like zooming in now. So this is one of those where you might be like a little like, oh, you see the A and you like jump. But this is literally a Pythagorean theorem question. The reason you see square roots, oh, one other thing, if you see square roots, things like that, try and think of formulas that relate. So if you see a question like this and you see a square root, well, you think, okay, well, what has squares, what has square root? The Pythagorean theorem. Does that relate to triangles? Yes, it does. So you're gonna wanna think of stuff like that. So in this case, you know that, the Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. If this is your c squared, this is your b squared, and this is your a, and we have to square that, then all we have to do is solve algebraically. Again, I'm not gonna go into that because we have 4 minutes, but just make sure you keep that in mind. This is an example of a hard question that you'll see, and the reason this is hard, and the reason that you see this a lot actually, is because these are similar triangles. And I'm gonna go over why this is when we actually get there, but just things for you to like keep in mind, right? You wanna see, right? So when it comes to these questions, you wanna actually look for what features that they have. And here, if you said this is 90, this is 90, then these are parallel. And you wanna be like making these mental notes when you're solving a question because they can help you. Because if things apply to perpendicular angles, then oh, you can do that here. But if things apply to parallel angles, then oh, you can do that here, right? So you wanna keep that in mind. Here, they share B. So we know that this angle is gonna be the same. And look at that, we know that this angle is gonna be the same. So these are things that you have to keep in mind when you're solving like pretty much your questions. This is another hard one that you'll see. And the reason that you'll see that it's hard is because they're giving you a sign, but they're asking you for a side. So it takes more steps. I just want to get you guys used to these kinds of different difficulties. This is my very last part. I'm actually finishing really well for time. So for circle, I put in parentheses unit because I want to cover both the unit circle and circle at the same time. You're gonna have to know how to convert between radians and degrees. This is gonna be really important when you're doing arc length and when you're doing sector area. Again, if these words sound a little scary, I promise they're not. Sector, think section, it's like a piece of the pie, it's just like when you get a little piece of slice in a circle, it's really easy. And then arc length is just finding the actual length of that arc in that sector. Again, if this doesn't make sense now, it makes sense that it won't cover it. And then this is the equation that I brought up before. This is very, very specifically outlined in the circle section. You have to know how to use this equation. It's gonna come up a lot because they can do a lot with it. I'm gonna show you now what they can do. So this is one of the questions that we singled out before. This is for practice test number 7, and they're asking for arc length, right? And they have an x instead of having, like a specific number there. Keep in mind, they show you what x equals, right? This is when I'm talking about the fact that SAT tried to trick you. They could have just put the 100 there and made your life so much easier, but they want to scare you. They want you to see that x and they want you to run away and skip the question to the next one. But in reality, the question's not bad. Okay, this one. I'm just gonna bring this up now. Again, this relates to algebra, so you'll actually learn how to do it in detail later. But this is actually a circle equation. This is not x minus h plus like y minus k. This is that. They just manipulated it so that you can't see it, right? And how did they do that? You have to complete the square. This is an algebraic thing that I don't know if you guys remember or if you guys have learned it yet. If you haven't, again, we'll cover it. But this is that same equation. This is that. This is
And
that.
then if you plug that into decimals, it's gonna give you the circle itself.
Yeah, if you plug that into decimals, one thing I will say, I have done that for some of these. Sometimes for when they give you this and you have to complete the square, it'll be a little off. So I always say try to get it into the circle formula if you can. But again, guys, you just have to like be watchful of these things because these are the, SAT just kind of puts it in a way that looks hard, but it really isn't hard to solve. And that's pretty much the end of my thing. We're switching literally in a minute, so take a minute
So
break.
for those of you on Zoom, we're gonna take a break while we actually switch the in-person rooms. What I'm gonna do, I want you guys to stay where you are. Like, don't join the breakout room. I'm just gonna move the 2 tutors. Switch there. So if you're in the main room right now, which like you guys are, because the other people are in the breakout room, stay here, okay? If you're on Zoom. The people in person, we're gonna switch right now. Let me go over there, make sure that they're ready to switch, and then I'll switch them over.
Okay, guys, well, he's gone. Was that fast?
Abraham, you killed off the whole population of like 5,000.
Was that bad? Was it good? Was it understandable? Again, I can like go slower. They just like shoved me into this thing really fast today, so it was like kind of bad, but like, did you guys understand me at least like a little bit? Do we have a better idea of the geometry part? Also like be for real, like how did I do? Because again, if I'm gonna be here, even if you guys don't come, I still want to help everyone that does come to these tutoring. So even if you don't like come back, which I hope you will, like tell me what I can improve on, if anything, or what we can improve on. Like, because he's doing algebra, I'm doing geometry, they're kind of different. So just let me know. Like, I don't have a survey or anything for you guys, but like give me feedback. Like, was it good, was it bad? Did you guys like the slides versus like the just going over the presentation, like the PDF? Alright, any other questions?
Yeah, we're switching.
Slide or PDF?
Slides.
Slides, alright.
I'm gonna give you like to join the breakout room.
It's not the board open.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah. Are you serious?
stop and join.
Wait, no. Wait. No, go more towards the door.
Okay. Wait. Did I get it or did it?
No, look,
Okay, did you put it in our journal?
No, you guys are in here now.
Oh, we have that.
Oh, I don't like this part here. I wanna see it.
What does that even mean?
Bro, you have to read it.
Probably, what about data?
He was killing everyone off, basically. He was like, he said like, this is, XYZ, this will kill you. This will kill you. Like he said, the word, this question will kill you, like.
Guys, he's just like,
We're all dead.
Okay, beautiful, everybody. We're gonna start really quick with everybody's name, and what's they're not gonna matter. Okay, awesome.
We all come to matter? I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay, can you guys answer the poll? I sent you guys the group chat and books.
Yes, definitely.
I already did that.
Okay, so while we are doing that, I want everybody, we're gonna start with you. You're just gonna say your name and one club that you're in school. What grade are you going to? Are you new about it?
No.
Sorry, I'm thinking of people that are in my grade and I just have no idea who you are. It's okay. You're gonna know who you are now. You're gonna be right now. Do you wanna be right now? Thank you. So you're not in club?
Because he has a hard time finding.
National Honor Society, it does. You know she is an officer in National Honor
I am
Society?
an officer. You should definitely
Okay.
join this
Here
year.
you go, say.
My name is Louis Fabiani, and I'm in a FBLA.
Are you?
I am.
I've never seen you there. You.
My name is Amy. I'm also an FBA.
Are you? Do you guys hold officer positions in there?
We do actually. Do you?
So would you like to speak on how great the club is?
I would like to speak on how great the club is.
Do you think?
My name's Samira. And my name is Ecos. Do
Okay,
you plan on
Yeah, you found her on your club?
this year?
She said to do that.
Or you like your free time? Yeah. Okay. Hello.
It's okay, in red.
It's gonna be
Also,
policy, like the environment.
do you,
Maybe.
in blue. Oh, so you don't get the, okay, you got a pine crest. You're not on our side? Hispanic on our side.
Oh, Hispanic.
So I was an officer right now. Which pine crest do you go?
Freelance.
Oh, Fairy Lance, do you know Fairy Lance?
Oh, yeah.
You
Oh,
really?
are you gonna have him as a teacher?
Yeah.
You had him this year?
The English language? Okay, anyway, that's one.
My name is Carolina, also in planning.
A pine crest? Awesome.
Wonderful.
Okay, and then, so let's pick someone on Zoom. Let's see someone random. Megan Delgadillo, what club are you in?
I'm a part of Lions
Oh,
State.
I'm so sorry, we can't hear you. Let's see if that's a problem on our end.
What?
Yeah.
Speak again.
I'm part of Lion Stage Drama.
Wait, Justin, I would put the volume above you.
Okay, thank you so much, Megan, for the video. Let's take someone else. Jomar Rodriguez, what club are you in? Jomar?
NHS. I'm a member.
Awesome, thank you so much. Okay, let's make this go fun and interactive. We are gonna play a little game with you first, just to see where you guys are, with vocabulary and, you know, see what you can focus on.
You know what? This camera is kind of weird. I don't know why it doesn't like, the other camera, it follows them, like it.
I don't like that.
Okay, so, let's go, okay, so let's move to the answer. Okay, which word here means to decrease or reduce?
Okay, Evander,
Abate.
You think it means abate? Let's try it out.
yeah,
Correct, Avenger, great job, everybody clap it up for Avenger. Guys, I love you, you're a better group than the other one, they were so silent.
Hey.
Okay, an object that serves as a charm or is believed to hold magical powers. Give me a
I,
hint, it's not fetish.
Talisman.
what do you think? Talisman?
Talisman, let's see.
Gabriel outside.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, great
oh, the
job.
audio doesn't work over there. Let's just do it here so you guys can also see it.
Okay, we'll do more. To move someone or something to a lower position or to vanish.
Oh, I know this one is like.
To you.
Hold on. Okay, we're gonna move, we're gonna. So, guys, can you hear us better, worse, or about the same here?
Better.
Awesome. Okay, so, Louis, would you say the answer was?
Oh, I think it's relegate.
Let's check it out. You would be correct, Louis. Great job, everybody.
Clap it up for Lewis.
She comes right now, so problem. Okay, now we're gonna move on to Kimberly, and she's just gonna talk about the effective SAT questions you're gonna see in reading.
Okay, well, hi guys. This is actually a very, this is actually a very good chart that we found. Okay, so this chart breaks down what to expect on the reading portion of the SAT, okay? So we're gonna go through the question types, around how many questions we're gonna get each for each section, so module 1 and module 2, as well as the percentage, which just lets you know what areas you're going to see more on the exam, what areas should you focus on if you're weaker in them. So definitely we have all of these question types: command of evidence, quantitative and textual, central ideas and details, inferences, so on and so forth. But as you can see, there's some questions that have way more weight than others. First off, words in context. Words in context is going to be one of the most prominent questions you're going to be asked in each module, with around 10 to 11, maybe 9 to 11 questions asked each section. Okay, so when looking to see, maybe if you haven't taken your SAT yet, you don't really know what you're strong in, you don't know what you're weak in, maybe using this chart is very good to help you see where you want to start off at. So I would start off in words of context because I can see that it weighs a lot. I know that if I master these questions, I can most likely get a higher score than if I just focused on cross-text connections. Okay, then we go down. What's the other highest one? Form, structure, and sense. Okay, they're gonna ask you around 7 to 8 or 6 to 8 questions.
Sorry,
on
guys, we know you
this.
can't do math because you just came from that other room.
So this chart, maybe you wanna take a picture, maybe you wanna search it up on your own time. If you haven't taken the SAT, which how many of you guys
How many
have
of you
already
guys-
taken? Okay, so the rest of you have not. And just maybe pull up a chart, and as you're studying, you can see where you wanna focus on, okay?
Okay, so now. Okay. Okay. Oh, yeah.
Are you gonna go get mine?
I'll meet you over there.
Oh.
No, where's your-
Never, no, I know. It's because we want the question we did for the test was module two. Okay,
Cause I guess there wasn't one on module one. They only asked one question.
okay, so first we're looking at number one. Anybody that's taking this SAT, namely Louis Fabiani, can you tell me what kind of question this is?
Yes, this is a question that's asking you about pretty much vocab, how to use the word.
Vocab, which is also called words of context, which we just found out was the most heavily tested question. We found that out, right? Thank you. Okay, so what's he ask you to do? It's gonna ask you to plug in a vocab word and just, which one fits best. Most of the time, only one is gonna fit correctly, but which one's gonna fit best? So I'm gonna read this first one, and after that, you guys can read, okay? So, taking photographs in the mid 1800s was complicated and expensive, but this changed with an 1854 invention of the carte de visite. You do not have to know what that is, okay? There's gonna be a lot of foreign terms, like this French term, you don't have to know what that is, okay? It has no relevance. A small photo that costs little make. Carte de visite or visite photos helps to blank photography. They made it easy and enjoyable for everyday people to have their pictures taken, and people time loved exchanging these small photos with friends and family. Okay, I'm gonna call on a person. Maybe Damas. What's the correct answer here? What word would you plug in? Do you want us to make it bigger?
Yeah.
Don't worry, right on that. Popular photography. Do we all agree?
Yes, sir.
Good, because it's right. Good job, David Thomas. Clap it up for her. Great job, everybody. Again. I think it's pretty self-explanatory that was the answer. But if you didn't know, so why do we know it's popular? They made it easy and enjoyable for everyday people to have their pictures taken, right? People loved exchanging these photos with friends and family. All these words have positive connotations, right? So usually the word that's going to be the correct answer is also going to have positive connotation. So which two words can we already eliminate because they have very negative connotations?
Isolate.
That is correct, Louis Fabiani. Next time, raise your hand. Thank you. So now we have
Guys,
to.
please don't be scared of it.
Don't raise
It's
your
just
hand.
joking.
No, don't. Just shut up. Okay, so then we have to differentiate between praise, positiveness. Okay. So do we know what praise means?
Yes.
What does praise mean?
For worship, like.
That is not true. I mean, that's close.
That's
Not really true.
no, it's pretty much praise, like, show off.
To speak good about something,
Highly.
speaking well about something, okay?
Show-
Does it say here that they're speaking highly about it? It says, it says they think highly, right? But not that they speak highly about it. Okay, so already we can eliminate that one and we can determine that's popularized. But also, let's, have some context clues, okay? They made it easy and enjoyable, right? If something's easy and enjoyable, usually that means that it's gonna be more popular, right? People love exchanging these small photos, right? So if they're changing things or spreading things around, that makes things more popular. Okay. So we're gonna look at question 2. It's gonna be a little harder because the vocab words are gonna be a little tougher. You remember question 2.
Into Roma, W. Thomas was fascinated by the colors and shapes on nature. The flowers and trees in the garden at her home in Washington, D.C. blank her work. For example, Thomas used a broken brush strokes multiplied by the way that light would shine through the leaves of a tree in front of the house.
What's your name? David, right? Yeah, Lucas. Oh, Lucas. I'll remember that. Great job, Lucas. Which word would you put in there?
Which is complementary.
That is a great job, Lucas. Do we know what influence? Okay, so, I mean, those probably answers, but that's because he has a good IC score. So let's look at some context clues, okay? If you don't know what words or what this meant, let's look at some similar words, okay? Broken brushstrokes was inspired by the way that light would shine through the leaves of the tree in front of the house, okay? What's the key word here? Inspired, okay? Which word most nearly means inspired? What? Yeah, okay, fascinated. It's not, okay, it's not totally relevant. I would say to inspire. Inspired is what's gonna get you to influence. Yes? I didn't hear all of you say yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, now we are going to move on to a different type of question. We're gonna move on to 6, okay? Sorry guys, I'm zooming out a little. Take a picture if you guys need to. Okay, I'm gonna ask someone on Zoom to read number 6. Megan Delgadillo, could you read number 6 for us?
In the 1915s, scientists didn't know much about the ocean floor. Many scientists at the time believed that the ocean floor was mostly flat, but geologist Marie Tharp and her research partner Bruce Heezen proved that this idea was wrong. Using sonar data collected from the Atlantic Ocean, Tharp and Heezen showed that the floor was filled with canyons, mountains, and valleys. Which choice best describes the function of the underlined sentence and the text as a whole?
Great job, Megan Delgadillo. So, first, can anybody tell me what type of question this is? Don't worry if you don't know. I'm not gonna choose on those 5 because I already answered a lot of questions. Anybody else? Can raise their hand and answer. Don't worry. I mean, well, actually, there's a keyword in this question that'll tell us what kind of question is. Keyword's function. There's a set of questions called form, function, and purpose. This falls into that. What it's asking you to do here is to analyze what function that underlined sentence has in the greater context of the larger stimulus, the larger paragraph. Okay? Megan Delgadillo, what is your answer?
A.
That is correct, Megan Delgadillo. Good job. Let's clap it up for her. She blew herself. Did she blew herself? I thought she blew herself. I thought she blew herself. Good job, Megan. It is A. So why is it A? Kimberly's gonna tell you why it's A.
I didn't even read the question. But I'll tell you what I think. I'll read it. Okay, so key little word, but. Just but. Okay. Scientists at the time they believed that the ocean floor was mostly flat, and then it'll go on to say, but whoever these researchers proved this idea was wrong. Okay, as soon as you see the but, you know that what the claim was before, they're totally diverting from it, they're changing it, they are going to set up a new phrase that's going to refute this. Okay, so but then again, you see here, prove that this idea is wrong. Okay, so A, they are identifying something that, you know, because let's say this sentence wasn't there, what are they proving that is wrong? Okay, you obviously see the sentence and you know it's a belief, it's a claim that many people have that they proved wrong. Okay, you see, even if you didn't want to read the whole paragraph, you can see this idea was wrong in the paragraph, and you can see to be wrong in the answer choice, and 9 times out of 10 you would be right.
Great job. She is also the next question. Well, I take a little break to ask Bob your question.
Oh, wow.
Guys, by the way, you guys are doing a great job. Also, module is gonna be the tougher module, and you guys are already doing better than the first grade, so Give yourselves a pat on the back.
Wait, what did you say, Kristen? Why are you talking so much? I think it was this. Yeah. Wonderful. No, guys, I'm gonna go to module 1. I don't want to do module 2. I just. But you know what? Let's do this question. Why not? Okay. So take some time to read number 17. So it's this first one here. And we're gonna do it together. Okay, this is an inference question. So the SAT wants you to just infer what the most likely answer choice is. Okay, so as you can see there, it's most logically, it's most likely that. So using what this little excerpt is telling you, what's the answer? Do one of you want to read it?
I'll read it. Narwhals are shy whales that live in the remote Arctic Ocean. Some of them have a long tusk, like a unicorn horn, with sensitive nerves. Narwhals are known for this tusk, but many actually don't have one, and its purpose is unknown. One group of scientists came up with a possible purpose in 2014. The scientists suggested that the tusk may help narwhals determine what water around them is likely to when water around them is likely to start freezing and become dangerous for them. Marine biologist Christine Lanier disagrees with that idea, though she reasons that if narwhal's tusk serves such an important purpose, then it's most likely that.
Okay, you don't have to answer. Let's do it together, okay, just so you don't answer again. Okay. Could it be D? So could she be reasoning that if these tests are so important, then narwhals would be less shy? Does that make sense?
It is irrelevant to
Who cares? Nobody cares if narwhals are shy or not. You know, it's not gonna impact anybody. Okay? Is it A that some narwhals would seek a new habitat? It's not A.
Thank you, Kimberly Miranda.
It's not A, guys. It is not A. Is it B? Why not?
B.
But why is it not B?
Oh, because why would fewer bring animal habitat so important?
Okay, so this is just really knowing what you read. Okay, guys?
Wait, are we doing 17 or 18?
We're doing 17.
Okay, is C.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Good job. This is really just knowing what you're reading, because some would see that, okay, narwhals would become the shy, and it's C because narwhals are shy, you know? It's, put it away.
I don't have anything.
Put it down.
Put it down. You really just, you have to understand what you're reading, okay? Narwhals are shy, you can just totally like, okay, leave out that sentence. But then we start coming here. This passage basically says, some narwhals have a long tusk, we know what it looks like, it's really scary. Many of them don't have it and we don't know why, okay? A researcher says that it could help them in their environment and like not die because it can tell freezing temperatures. Another researcher disagrees, and why would she disagree? Obviously, if a tusk is so important that it could help them avoid death, they would all have it. We all know the theory of evolution. We all know survival of the fittest. If it is so important, they would all have it. Okay? So, C. More animals would have this tusk. Okay. Oh, it's so hard at that this question.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do number 12. So it's this one on the right. I don't know if it's that. Hopefully it's still right. Okay, so look at the graph, read the description, and tell me the answer.
Take someone from the Zoom to read. No, you answer the last question.
Answer.
Just pick a random person.
Evander, what do you think the answer to number 12 is? Take your time.
D.
Okay, you're correct.
Great job, Evander.
Woo! So it is D. This is one of the easiest quantitative evidence questions you were gonna get. It does get harder, okay? So this question is an easy point, an easy 5 seconds, give or take. Okay, you just come over here, start off with reading the question. Okay, sometimes it'll say according to the graph, then you can, most of the time, you can disregard the description of the graph. Just go straight to the graph, and if it answers the question, it's the answer. Then as we start going into module 2, let's say, or as we start going into just further questions that are gonna follow, they do get harder and they do require you to read the description, okay? But it is D, so very good job. Let's do 11, okay? It is very lengthy. Can you guys all read that? Good.
Okay, so very similar to quantitative evidence. This is another evidence question, but it's not quantitative. There's no graph, there's no numbers, there's just a story. Okay, so we'll have someone on Zoom read it. Would anybody like to volunteer to read it?
I think Evander. Yeah, Evander, you could read it.
Question 11.
Yes.
The following text is from Thomas Mann's 1924 novel, The Magic Mountain, translated by John E. Woods in 1995. The story of Hans Castorp that we intend to tell here, not for his sake, for the reader will come to know him as a perfectly ordinary, if engaging young man, but for the sake of the story itself, which seems to us to be very much worth telling, although in Hans Castorp's favor it should be noted that it is his story, and that not every story happens to everybody, is a story that took place long ago and is, so to speak, covered with the patina of history and must necessarily be told with verbs whose tense is that of the deepest past.
Great job.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry for cutting you off.
We'll give you a minute to read the answer choices, and then Evander, I would like you to come back with an answer.
Evander,
You go, Evander.
I actually really like the way you read, so that's
Good job.
amazing.
Yep.
You have a very,
Distinct voice.
yes, very like story-like. Like I would have liked for you to read stories. What's funny?
Lewis,
Being
let's
genuine.
not be disrespectful. If we need to
You
do
can't be
that,
laughing when you're
can't
not paying
exit the
attention,
room.
Louis.
I am paying attention, thank you very much.
Okay, do we have an idea? Maybe it doesn't have to be Evander, but if you wanna answer, you can.
D.
What'd you say?
D.
D. It is D. Could you tell me why it is D? Can you
It
tell me?
says,
Go ahead.
he's a perfectly ordinary person,
Absolutely. What else?
and the story itself seems to be, as it says, very much worth telling. So that means that it must be interesting, aka remarkable.
Good job, Evander.
That's amazing.
That's correct. That's quite literally the most apt description we could come up with. That is literally why the answer is the answer. Does anybody need any help besides Evander's description?
Would someone have answered something else, or would we all have gotten D? Don't
It's
be
okay
shy.
that you didn't get D
Yeah.
because like, you're never gonna learn if you don't say you're wrong. You have to admit your faults.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
You're
Not in the way you like to think, though.
You always get D?
Yeah.
You have to use it right there.
Yeah, we know you always get D.
You always get the D?
Yeah, you don't even-
Thank you, Lewis. Oh, Father is a funny guy back there. What are we doing?
Why you look at me, but we'll be happy.
Wait, maybe go home. Maybe there's some questions up there.
I'm sure. Why do you guys take the nerve gun?
Okay, guys. Okay, guys, so 13 is probably one of the hardest questions you will ever see on SAT, ever. So, because of that, I'll read the passage. But I still want one of you guys, more in person, to come up with an answer, okay? A student in the political science course is writing a paper on Aristotle's The Politics, in which Aristotle offers his opinion on political instability and gives advice on how constitutions can be preserved. Aristotle observes that different forms of government can fall in different ways. For example, oligarchies might grant power to military leaders during wartime who refuse to relinquish that power during peacetime. But the methods of preserving order apply across all forms of government. The student claims that, in particular, Aristotle asserts that in a healthy state, obedience to law must be as close to absolute as possible, and that even minor infractions should not be ignored. Give you a couple minutes to come up with an answer choice, and then shout it out. Oh. Okay, shut up.
Okay,
Okay, you in the red sweater. What's the answer?
hey, maybe,
That's crazy words.
maybe not, what's your
Okay.
name again?
Alexandra, what's the answer? You can't see, it's okay.
Oh,
Can't see.
so she said.
Okay, well, maybe then we should move up closer.
Is it C?
It is not C. Okay,
I think Fabio might be giving you guys a hint.
the answer is A. Okay, wow, Evander, actually, you were spot on, Evander, you were a star student. You guys see Evander? He was holding up a piece of paper that said A.
Genius.
Oh, well,
Okay,
he's,
we'll show you a picture again.
yeah, we'll show you Evander towards the end. Evander, you are correct. Evander, if you didn't mind, would you like to explain to Gabriel why it is A as opposed to C?
So first off, I think this is an annoying question because it's like a bunch of paragraphs.
Very true.
Absolutely.
So let's see. So first off, the claim we're looking for is that obedience to law has to be as close as possible. If you, I don't know, spit out gum on the street, you should be punished just as much as somebody who like litters continuously. That's the idea that we're looking for. So when we look at C, we don't really see that. That's about instilling like fear into the people, and that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the little crimes adding up and eventually destroying a nation or something. So when we look at A, we have these little crimes, these small expenditures, these little crimes that seemingly nobody cares about, chipping away at the stability of the state and eventually destroying it. So that's why I put A, and that's why I don't think it's.
Gabriel, do you understand? You can chat if you don't want to unmute yourself. I think Evander gave a very reasonable explanation, but if anything, just let us know in the chat.
Okay.
Did you guys all get that? You guys all heard his explanation? It's actually amazing.
So we're gonna look at one other quantitative. This will be on the harder side. So let's just read it independently, give you a couple minutes, and then let's come up with an answer choice. If you don't know how to approach this, don't worry, just speak up. But again, this is a quantitative question, so as I explained earlier, I'm using the same techniques.
Huh?
Does that answer?
No.
Guys, who just left?
I hope it's not.
Wait, I didn't expect him to answer
I hope it's not Evander.
Is it Evander?
Evander.
I would hate for it to be Evander. Evander, are you there?
Evander's here.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
goodness.
We love you,
There's no way I
Evander.
could continue without Evander.
Oh, put down one. What school is everyone from Zoom from? Are they from all over?
Okay. Do we have an answer, anybody? If you have an answer, shout it out.
No, pass it on to Amy.
Amy, what's the answer? I just got it.
Okay.
It's okay, Amy, don't worry. Maybe we're gonna give Evander a break because he's been doing the heavy lifting.
Yeah, Evander has been working all the time.
Pick on that studious man and the privilege.
You mean
Lucas? No, you should pick on someone that hasn't participated.
Lucas already answered 2 questions. That's why we're gonna pick on.
He's too smart
great
for
runner.
us.
You can.
You should ask her name
Okay.
first.
I want,
Can you stop identifying?
I want one of the 4 girls back here to answer a question.
Alexandria. Did I butcher it? No. Oh,
Why are you
okay.
holding a gun to her? Why
Oh.
you?
I'm sorry. No, I was just really trying to get your name. Sorry.
You should be also good.
Bro, I swear to you, bro.
Oh, whoa. No, we
And like, until someone shouts it out, everyone should be working.
Anyone from Zoom?
Let's call someone from Zoom.
Don't,
Geomar.
Geomar, answer the question.
Jomar Rodriguez, what's your answer?
Omar, if you do
Yeah.
not.
Jomar just left.
No, he didn't.
Jomar?
Oh no, someone left.
I'm not done reading the answer choices, so.
Yeah, we're gonna pass this to you.
Guys, poor people, you guys give them a minute to answer.
Yeah, that's a big question, Tristan.
Don't do that, don't do it.
Oye, ¿quién más siempre eres?
I'll answer.
Are you going to the bathroom?
No, I'm here to ask you.
Okay.
Are you going to the bathroom?
No, he just wants to talk to his brother in the book.
Yeah, I gotta.
Just go ahead.
Wait, I gotta put my homework this one.
Okay.
That's not
Well,
all they
guys.
do. Okay,
You know, we'll pass it off to absolutely anyone. Absolutely anyone answer this question.
Thank you.
Okay, like I said, it's gonna be one of the harder questions, so it's okay if we didn't answer. But if you guys really want to know the answer is,
the answer is A.
the answer is A. Okay? So, why is the answer A? A multitude of reasons. Let's read it. Guys, who keeps leaving and joining? National governments of countries in Region 1 experienced declines in efficiency in the period from 2000 to 2014 relative to the period from 1970 to 2000. Okay. So. Okay, so here's what we're gonna look at, right? So.
It was a whole thing.
That's fine. Okay, so. Let's give it 2 time periods, that matches up the 2 time periods in the graph. Kimberly is being a ne'er-do-well, everybody shame her. Everybody point at her and say shame. Thank you. Okay, so the 2 time periods, 2000 to 2014, 1970 to 2000, okay? So let's look at region 1, 1970 to 2000, drop off, not too much. Compared to region 2, doesn't have the biggest drop off, okay? But from 2000 to 2014, it is a very steep drop off. Compared to region 2 in that same time period, has a much deeper drop off. That's why. So what are some key words here in this answer? Relative, right? Relative means you're going to compare 2000 2014 to 1970 to 2000, right? And you can see that 2000 to 2014 has a much deeper drop off than 1970 to 2000. Yes?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Did you have something on? Okay, so now we moved on to the grammar portion. These questions are simpler. And you should answer them much quicker than the other ones. These should be very, very quick. Lucas, go ahead and read 19.
One of the eldest known natural Babylonian clay tablet thought to be almost 4,500 years old. The map blank the area of a plot of land, shows a river valley, and includes the cardinal directions. Read choice completes the text so that it conforms to the conventions of standard English.
What is your answer?
Map. Describe.
Okay, I think it's C. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm right?
Great job, Lucas. You know what? Yeah, guys. Okay, hi there.
Oh, sorry.
Lucas said A. Lucas said A. He got that right. He actually used the exact same description I used with the last people because they didn't know. But Lucas said birthday. It is singular. What's singular here? Right, it's a singular noun. What else would incline you to say describes? Okay, think about like the tense.
Yeah, I'm very bad grammar, like it's not my language. It's okay. I understand how it works, I don't know how to describe it.
Okay,
You got it
it's-
right.
okay, so part of it is yes, singular noun. Part of it is present tense, right? So first, we look at present tense. Because present tense, we can already eliminate C and D. Now we have to determine between singular and plural nouns. Of course, Lucas said it was.
What? What's singular?
Lucas said it was singular. So therefore, the correct verb would be describes. Took out. We're gonna look at 20. Okay. I'm gonna read it. Someone plug in that word. 18 letters written by Louisa May Alcott, author of the popular novel Little Women, can be found in the New York Historical Society. Blank letters demonstrate Alcott's keen business sense in her interactions with publishers. Which word conforms to standard English convention? Alexandra. Great job, Alexandra. That is correct. So would you like to explain why? Okay, yeah.
Oh,
That actually, yes,
That's the reason why?
guys, so this is what I'm saying. Especially in these questions, if you, like, you guys can trust in yourselves that you know what it's supposed to sound. Is that what you did? You sounded them out, you know what it's supposed to sound like, and these sounds most correct. So if you don't know all these thousands of verb, tense, and noun laws, which I guess, most of us don't, the best way to solve this is to sound out. And of course, if you plug them in, these sounds best, right? We all agree?
yes.
Everybody nod your head on Zoom. Thank you. Okay, let's look at one more. Girl in the pink shirt, read 21. What's your name, girl in pink shirt? Samara, read 21.
So,
Take a picture of it. Take a picture.
or you can move up.
You can move up. Well, no, I asked them and they didn't want to. They were actually very
I don't know.
they were adamant, but they looked with me at much disdain at that suggestion.
Maybe they just don't want to be close to us.
With those fall was a period of severe drought that plagued the great plains of the US during the 1930s. During this time, dust storms blamed over 100 million acres of land. They even reached as far as east as New York City.
What is your answer?
D.
That is correct. Everybody clap. Oh, they're clapping on Zoom. What for kids? We didn't need that. Okay. Again, we could drown on about conjugations. The one thing I will say, it is past tense. So that's why you know it's affected, not affect, not is affecting. But the other thing is, let's just sound it out, right? Affected sounds us. Yes.
It does.
Great. Okay, now we will move on to these questions. The difference between those and these sets of questions that these require another thing. Not only do they require conjugation, as Lewis just said, they require punctuation. Okay, so let's look at 24. Go ahead and read them by yourselves, and then quickly come back with an answer. Actually, I'm gonna ask someone on Zoom. Okay. Sahara? Could you read the question for us and then answer?
Increasing the heat on an uncovered boiling pot of water does not increase the temperature of the water. What increases the rate at which water turns to blank, a pressure cooker pot, though an airtight seal traps the vapor in the pot, creating pressure that allows the temperature of the water to increase past its boiling point. Which choice completes the text so that it conforms to the conventions of standard English?
At a certain point, we're gonna just stop reading the questions. Once you start getting very comfortable with the SAT, you'll notice that the questions are gonna repeat themselves. Almost always, they're going
I
to
mean,
ask you the
Let's look at
same
24 and
question.
26.
Yeah,
They have the exact same questions. Difference is a test, right?
okay,
So when you get to this set, you should know what's asking you. You just got to read it, okay?
Okay.
So what was your answer?
Um,
Okay. Give me a second.
B.
it is not B.
Really quickly. How do you pronounce your name?
Sahara, like the desert.
Got it. Thank you. Okay. So as Jimmy said, it is not B. Would you like to take another stab at it?
So instead of taking a stab at it, can you just explain to us what your thought process was behind B? Why do you think it's B? Why does B fit, in your opinion?
Well, I don't think it's A because it would make it, for me personally, I think A would make it an like a fragment, and it can't be, and for me, it couldn't be,
And your friend.
uh,
Okay. All right. Okay, so
Okay.
I like your thinking. Okay, this is gonna be super funny. A was actually the answer. It's okay. We'll have our moments. Lewis, that was not funny. That was extremely disrespectful. Take 30 seconds outside. Lewis, take 30 seconds outside.
Okay,
Okay.
so just, it is not B. And with these grammar questions, not only do you have to know the rules, but you also just have to sound it out. If you get to a question and you really don't know what's the difference between using a period and a comma, you don't know whether you don't have to use punctuation at all, you can bring it back to just sounding it out. So if we sound out that sentence, putting B in the blank, we can see that it is just a run-on sentence, okay? And think about it. These questions are asking you for punctuation. So why would the answer choice be something without any punctuation? Okay? So it's just something to keep in mind. So if we start going down the answer choices, another rule of thumb, another rule of thumb is that 9 times out of 10, almost all the time, it won't be the answer choice that has another word just incorporated in it. You see how A, B, and C all have vapor with, but D has vapor and with, okay? 9 times out of 10, it would never be that answer choice that just includes a random letter or a random sentence, okay? So the answer choice is A.
Louis Fabiani.
Can you
please
guys go
stop.
outside for the?
Okay, let's look at something else, okay? So as Kim said, this will require punctuation. Now let's differentiate which type of punctuation, okay? So if we look at A, it has a period. And then C has a comma. When would you use a comma? Feel free to jump in.
You just like pause.
You use a comma to connect an independent and dependent clause, okay? So let's read these sentences with the words in them, okay? What increases is the rate at which water turns to vapor. Is that an independent or dependent clause?
In other words.
And it stands alone as a sentence.
That's the question. So whenever you see a punctuation question, the most important part is that you look at it and say, okay, you read the first part. Like, I'm gonna give you another example. Though I am smart. If I say though I am smart, is that a complete sentence?
Is the rate of
No,
water
right?
is it a
So
sentence?
we know that's not a complete sentence. Let's say, the second part of that part of the sentence was, I got an A on the test. Is I got an A on the test a full sentence? It is. So you have something that needs support because it's like not a sentence, and something that is a sentence. When you connect something that cannot stand on its own with something that can support itself, you use a comma. So that's why you would use though I am not smart, comma, I got an A on the test.
So in this case, let's read the second sentence. With the pressure cooker pot, though, an airtight seal traps the vapor in the pot, creating pressure that allows the temperature of the water to increase past 1 point. Can that stand alone as a sentence? Yes. Right? So now you have two independent clauses. Therefore, you must separate them with a correct Amy Damas. Everybody clap it up for Amy Damas. Okay. All these questions are very simple.
Sahara, do you understand why it was not B? Are you sure? You can ask us, okay? Okay, wonderful.
Now we're gonna look at the most unique question on the SAT.
My favorite.
It's the notes section. It asks you to summarize notes in a particular way. Unlike in reading and math, unlike other questions in reading and math, there is nothing that even comes close to this. However, it is by far the easiest type of question. Why? Because in most cases, you will never have to read the stimulus. We know what I mean when I say stimulus? Yeah. Okay, you will never have to read the stimulus, okay? Wow. Because in most cases, 95% of cases, the information you'll need comes in the question. Let's read this question. First of all, that first sentence was matters. The second sentence is going to be the same thing every time, okay? So the student wants to identify which type of scientist Chaudhuri is. That is what you want to know. Doesn't matter who Chaudhuri the person is, what type of scientist is he. Which choice most effectively uses relevant information for the notes to accomplish the goal? Okay. So let's read through these. I'm gonna read through these, and let's see which one tells us what type of scientist he is. Chalk is a type of sedimentary rock. Does that tell me what type of scientist he is? No. Some scientists study shale, chalk, and sandstone. Does that tell me what kind of scientist he is?
No.
No. There are scientists who study sedimentary rocks. Yeah. Lastly, Chaudhuri is a sedimentologist.
Yes.
Correct. Okay. Look at that. We're able to answer it without even reading the stimulus. Okay. But let's go back. Let's check. Okay. Let's read through the notes. Anagana Chaudhuri is a scientist. Chaudhuri studies sedimentary rocks. A scientist who studies sedimentary rocks is called a sedimentologist. Shale, chalk, and sandstone are examples of sedimentary rocks. So, if Chaudhuri studies sedimentary rocks, and a person who studies sedimentary rocks is called a sedimentologist, what is Chaudhuri? Great job, Luz Fabian.
So it goes hand in hand. Usually, these questions are always at the end. So you're running out of time. You probably have what? Let's say 5-7 minutes left when you get to these questions. In each module, they'll always be at the end. You're looking for an easy point and a fast point. So do not go and read a
So let me
simple. Wait.
let me add something on here. So me personally, I freaking hate the reading questions that are like 10 million miles long, and especially like question 13, 14, like near there, that's like the ones that's like science passages that ask you to like confirm or deny or whatever. I would skip those and leave those for the end, right? Because if okay, when it comes to the test, you have to be strategic, right? So if you know, damn, I really love these like I'm really good at these notes passages, right? Do these first, because those are points that you know you're going to get, right? If you're gonna go and maybe even get one of those like inference questions wrong, because you know you're stuck at inferences, when you're sitting the test, leave those for last, so that if you have to rush, you rush on something that you could have gotten wrong anyways. You know what I mean? So it's like the strategy. That's what I did every time during the SAT. And like, here's the thing: you don't have to get every single question right. You want to, but like I still was able to get like a 770 in my reading section, and there's that test. I think I literally left like I guessed on like 3 or 4 questions, and I still got a super high score. So it's a matter of just looking at the time that you have and using it wisely, right? This is left at the end, but in my opinion, this is the easiest part. It also depends how you.
That's why it's left at the end, because they know that if you don't know how to tackle it, you're gonna read the points, you're gonna read the question, you're gonna read the answer choices, and your time is done. Okay, so the easiest way to tackle this, you skip the points. You go again. look at the patterns. As you start getting more comfortable with the SAT, as you start practice tests, so on and so forth, there is a pattern. Almost all of the questions are going to be asking the same thing. Only one phrase will change, two phrases will change. And here, it's always going to ask you what choice most conforms to the goal that the student is trying to do. What is the student trying to do? Okay, they're trying to contrast the two styles of tiles. I go straight to the answer choices. Okay, I'm running out of time, and maybe you still have some questions that you flagged before that you want to come back on. Okay, so read the answer choices. And if you have time after you've chosen one, if you have time, you've gone over your flagged questions, okay, then you go back and you read the points and you see that they match up, okay, you're done. But they are the last questions for a reason, okay? Again, you find a strategy with depending on what you're most comfortable with as you start taking the test, as you start taking practice tests, you find where you can, take hits, where you're gonna prioritize your points on. Okay? Okay, we can do this question.
Let's look at 29. Okay, this one is much thicker.
I mean, 30.
We can read 30. Okay, this one's much thicker, much denser than the last one. Okay, so
Denser.
same strategy. Let's read the question. Let's find out what it's asking us. Let's read the answers. The student wants to contrast the two styles of tiles. Again, second sentence of the exact same thing. Quick enough. I know that when you do essays and whatnot, if it asks you to compare, you compare and contrast, right? Do both things. This is not true for the SAT. If it asks you to compare, it wants you to tell us why they're similar. If it asks you to contrast, it wants you to tell us why they're different. Yeah, the correct answer will never do both. Okay?
Unless it tells you to compare and contrast.
But it never does. It only asks you to compare or contrast. Look at the question. See?
Ooh,
Not-
I'm wrong.
We are never all knowing, okay? Be confident, but don't be overconfident.
Evander, we want you to answer this question. So,
Do me a favor, actually. Read through the answer choices yourself, like
Yeah.
with us, like read them for us, and then tell us which one you think contrasts.
so read each and every answer choice and keep on going up until D, even if you think you found the answer choice. And you just let us know why you're picking the answer choice that you did after you've read them.
Read them out loud.
Yes, please, if you could.
A. Tiles in the Majolica and Arista styles can be found in the Royal Alcazar of Seville in Andalusia, Spain. B. Featuring tiles in the Majolica and Arista styles, the Royal Alcazar of Seville in Spain is famous for its intricate tile work. C. In the Arista style, designs are stamped into the ceramic tiles, whereas in the Majolica style, the designs are painted directly on them. D. Among the famous tile work of the Royal Alcazar of Seville are Majolica style tiles, made by painting designs directly on the ceramic tiles. And I think it's C because it has one of those like contrasting connecting words, whereas.
Yeah, that's correct.
You're
That's
correct.
exactly why it's correct.
You're absolutely correct. Now, if we, let's say we have time and let's go back to the notes. Evander, can you please tell me where on the notes you would just reassure that your answer choice C is correct?
The last two notes about what Majolica and Arista are.
Absolutely, you are correct. Let's clap it up for Evander once more.
Okay, now we have a couple minutes left. Does anybody have specific issue with the question? Would anybody like to see a specific type of question that they did see before? Are you gonna raise your hand, Lucas?
No?
You should.
You guys are like just a question that you don't really get.
Did we do
Hands
a
up.
cross-text connection?
Cross-text.
Cross-text connection. Let's look at,
Oh,
did you
that
do
was
it?
number 9. No.
That is also one of my least favorite questions.
It is also probably the hardest.
I would say again, when it comes to the test, the
Oh, the
most
point
important part is to treat it strategically, right? This is about how many points you can pick up, right? Pick up a point, pick up a point, pick up a point, pick up as many points as possible. And then basically from there, the adaptive, I don't think we've gone into that. really, really important. Section 1. You have to lock in. Like when I say you have to lock in for section 1, I mean like you have to lock in. Yes, for both sections.
How well you do in section 1 will determine
We'll
how
start
hard the
how hard
questions.
the questions in section 2 are. Now, you might be saying, okay, let me fail section 1 so I get an easy section 2.
Wrong.
Wrong. So the reason that does not work is because if you get, okay, your score is gonna be either a, let me draw on this. Your score is gonna be assigned a ceiling or a thing. So like, okay, you take section 1, right? So you have two possible options, right? So you go either into the hard module or you go into the easy module, right? If you go into the easy module, your score is going to be capped up to a certain point. If you go up to the hard module, your score would be like a score floor, right? So if you go into the hard module, you can go up. If you go into the easy module, your score is going to go down.
Guys, you want to be here. You want to be entering the score ceiling, okay? We all agree? Score ceiling is what we need, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Quick question, just to kind of gauge also. Where does everyone want to go to college? Like, does everyone want to go to UF? Like, what is?
Actually, we have a lot of time, so why don't we just go across the room?
Oh, great. All right, let's start with you.
We're gonna start with
Oh.
Pearl.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Lucas. So
I'm gonna learn people's names, man.
what's your name? Samara. So yeah, I knew that.
Samara.
Samara, not that.
Yeah, he did not know that.
Okay.
I know everyone here. I don't know.
How you? Alexandra?
I thought you for what? What do you say?
Psychology.
Psych, okay.
Alexandra?
Mm,
Alexandria. What do you want
What
to
do you
mm, forensics, toxicology.
do?
do? You know what's a good school for that? USF.
Yeah.
Lucas.
Between what? Like here US, but I dream to go to the University of Chicago.
Oh, your
Really?
awesome.
Really? Yeah, that's on my list too.
Your Chicago was really nice.
Yeah, not a lot of campus life, but really good for academics. Louis Fabiani.
Oh, I would like to go to school with my brother in business.
Yeah,
Finance.
where?
Yeah, wherever he ends up.
Well, we know where he ends up. Nothing harder.
Harvard
hey,
down.
can you down us?
My dream school is UF for finance.
I don't know. I'll feel my best. I like to do I like Dartmouth.
Dartmouth, the
Really?
first.
Ooh.
But Dartmouth is also in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
You have to be happy.
You shouldn't have three in there.
Hopkins is great.
Oh,
But I don't know.
Pinecrest girls?
Are you? You don't know, okay. People on Zoom.
Evander,
Oh, Evan, right?
where would you like to go to school? In college?
Somewhere good.
You would like to go to college in your bed? Where would you like to go to college?
MIT, I guess.
Oh.
Wow, that's
might be
tough. That's
awesome.
tough.
I feel like with his reading voice, he could get there.
I definitely
Wait,
like.
what
Uh,
school does Evan go to?
What school do you go to, Evander? Like right now?
Pinecrest Lakes Prep.
Where is
And
that?
you go to Pinecrest, please.
Mineola.
Mineola, so you're like, that's like Orlando-ish?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, we're a global SAT boot camp.
Cool.
Yeah, Mineola's global.
Yes, statewide.
Leandro?
I don't really have a plan right now. I don't really have an idea of where I want to go. I'm aiming for an Ivy League school, but I don't really know.
Okay,
Okay.
Ivy League, awesome.
Gabriel Cleese.
No.
We'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Gabriel,
Yes.
what college would you like to go to?
I don't know. I don't even know what major I want to be in.
Matthew Morey. Matthew Morey.
I'd like to go to FSU.
FSU, awesome.
Wow.
Knowles.
Don't know. Am I pronouncing it Janaya?
Yeah, you did.
What college would you like to go to?
Either UF or John Hopkins after probably.
Hopkins in the house.
Evelyn.
So actually, so one of our tutors, his sister goes to Johns Hopkins.
Yeah.
Say it
Actually,
again?
Abraham's sister. You know
Abraham's
Abraham?
yeah,
He goes to Johns Hopkins.
Johns Hopkins.
Yep. Evelyn.
I would like to go to UF for psychology.
Interesting.
Go Gators.
What about Fabio Fabiani Part 2?
Kimberly Miranda, that's you.
I would like to go to UF or Vanderbilt.
You're not unmuted.
Vandy,
Well, whatever, it's me.
She
It's
can
like
hear.
so
Okay,
Mr. Alvarez.
Yeah.
I would like to go to either FIU or USF.
very lastly, Jomar.
Rodriguez.
I like to go to FIU.
Awesome.
And Sahara?
I would like to go to FIU to study immunology.
Oh, interesting.
Very good.
Okay.
Awesome.
And Tristan, what about you?
Raskaeta.
I would like to go to Dartmouth College
Hang out with the trees.
to study political
Middle
science.
nowhere.
Middle nowhere, yeah. Well, there's a Panera there.
There's a Panera Bread. Oh my god.
There's a
Well,
Panera across the street.
So so when I was looking for colleges, I remember I did a flying program, which you guys should look into.
Kenyon.
So flying programs are basically this thing where like the college is literally going to fly you out, pay for your flight, hotel, food while you're there. It's like a free trip to like a bunch of colleges do these, right? So I got flown out to Gambier, Ohio. So Gambier, Ohio is literally, if you think, okay, Columbus, Ohio is like a medium city. I think it's probably the size of no, Orlando. Well, like I don't know. It's not a big city. It's a city, but not a big city. So we got there and we took like they took us on a bus to a little town, and it was like literally it was like a small town college, right? The town is the college. Like literally, like there's only like one coffee shop. There's like one restaurant in the town. And like one hotel, and that's it. The rest of like they were like, oh, if you want to go to like, I don't know, McDonald's or something, that's like 25 minutes away. Stuff like that. So again, it depends with like the size of the college, you just kind of experience those stuff. But hey, if you want to get free trips, look into flying programs. Like I honestly like my senior year, like this past year, Tristan, how often was I here?
Maybe
I was a model
30% of the time.
model attendance. I was not here at all. Because like I was getting flown out to college, conferences and stuff, which is something that I recommend you guys look into. Look into opportunities for if you're sophomores, rising sophomores or rising juniors, look into summer programs for next year. So summer programs are great. Again, a lot of them are free. You get to spend a couple of weeks out of college, doing a class or something. But more so what you're going to like learn is A, what is the college life like? And then B, you're gonna meet a lot of like cool people. Like I've met so many cool people through like one of the summer programs I did, like who are like going on to do like amazing things. So I think that's like something you guys can look into. We're gonna be like sending out a lot of information as far as like summer programs go, as far as like advising goes, because we're trying to connect you guys. So like for example, if you said you want to go to Johns Hopkins, right? We can connect you to people who went to Johns Hopkins, right? If you want to go to UF, we'll connect you with people that go to UF. You want to go to MIT, we'll connect you with people that go to MIT. Our schools in general have a pretty strong network of people at these schools. Like all the schools you mentioned, I think we have someone
We have a lot of Johns Hopkins.
we have a lot of Johns Hopkins. We don't have any recent Dartmouth, but I know we've had Dartmouth in the past. We have a couple people, we actually have a couple people at MIT, a lot of UM, a ton of UFs, FIU, we have a ton, of course. What else we hear? Vandy actually don't think, I was like
We had in like 2018.
2018. Yeah,
We'll find out.
we'll see. But like again, like if there is a school that you're interested in going to, the chances are that we can find you someone that has gone to that school or is currently at that school. Duke, if anyone wants to go to Duke, we know some people at Duke. Penn, we have people at Penn as well. We have people at Williams. We have people at Case Western for medicine is really great. Again, and these are things we're going to talk about in some of our other sessions. So the boot camp is really going to be focused on like SAT stuff. But then we're going to be like through Instagram series, you're going to be able to see all the different programming. And we're also going to be working with your school counselors to like get you more information. That's probably how you guys found out about this, right? Through your counselors? Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Okay.
Okay, we're gonna
bring in the people from the other room. This is the main room.
But everyone was like, I want to go to you. That's all I was going to my head. I wanted to go through that.
Okay, they're gonna be joining us in just a few minutes. And then can we get the Canva with like the presentation up again?
You're on my account.
Guys, where, oh,
The keyword right there is just enough.
Well, hello everyone who's coming back in from the math room. I hope you guys enjoyed your time with Tony and Abraham.
I know they didn't.
Okay, so it's awesome. Yeah, that much. All right, so we're going to finish off today. I hope you guys learned a lot. Today was more so an introduction to yeah, to all the to all of the content on the SAT, the different types of questions you might get, getting comfortable with the structure of the test. Starting next class, we're going to be focusing on specific skills. So my philosophy when it comes to SAT prep is that like you should just rehearse one thing like 20 times over and you're gonna get it eventually. You know what I mean? So we're gonna do like spend a big chunk of time, for example, like if you're working with grammar, working with I don't know, punctuation, right? So we'll do 20 punctuation questions in a row. So that way, like it's drilled in your brain the process of how do I read a punctuation question, how do I do a punctuation question, how do I get the answer? Same thing with math, right? So starting next time, we're gonna be having more structured as far as like we're gonna give you guys packets digitally so you guys can like write notes and stuff, and then we'll have like more content, focus. Now, the last thing for today I really wanted you guys to do is our attendance form. So this is just to tell us that you guys were here. Oh, by the way, before we do that, quick shameless plug for our application. So like we said earlier, we're looking for people who are interested in becoming maybe a social media ambassador, writing on our blog, maybe doing some digital design. We have a really, really great team. Some people are seeing Evander, maybe you should look into this. So we're looking really for people to join our team who are like active, are looking to work and do stuff. And there's like a lot of benefits that like you'll get from being on our team. So the applications are on here. They're also going to be on our Instagram page. Again, they're due on June 30th at 11:59, and it basically asks you for like some like writing about like your experience and all that, and then it also goes into your past experiences. With that said, oh sorry, that's the wrong. Google Classroom, just in case anyone has not joined yet.
I'm having trouble joining the Google Class.
Okay, let's see. Are you
That's him.
do you have your collegiate, do you have a collegiate email?
Yes.
Okay, so let's see. Can you let's do this. I'm going to go in. I'm gonna go in and see what's going on with that. Send me an email at FabioFabiani@matteracademy.com. We might have to forward this to like the technical team that manages everything for collegiate to like see what's going on with that. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay. So yeah, Google Classroom, make sure you're on that. If you have any issues with that, Fabio Fabiani at matteracademy.com is your contact point. Okay, attendance form. So in addition to just like taking an attendance form, we added for the first time a short survey. So we just want to know your thoughts on everything. Like be brutally honest. Like if you said, I was bored to my mind's out, like tell us that. Or if you're like, okay, I liked how this boot camp worked, but like I don't know. I think the reading section did this good, and this things that they could improve. The math section, these are things they did good, things they could improve. That way we can go back and make some alterations as far as making it the best for you guys.
Evan, how was the spelling bee?
Stop it.
All right.
Why do you know that?
I'm just your biggest fan, man.
We're connecting with you on LinkedIn.
Yes, sir.
Well, it's when did you do this spelling bee?
2 years ago.
Okay, Cause so there's this girl that used to go to my old school that she was actually the runner up in the spelling bee. But this was like the national spelling bee, the Scripps national spelling bee. I want to say it was in must have been like 2018 or 2019. So that's cool. That's really cool.
Question for the attendance: do we have to do the EqualScore team applications part?
Oh wait, hold on. Is it did I put up the wrong form?
At first it was attendance, like filling out your name, but now it's saying like we have to do this EqualScore.
Oh yeah, sorry. This is the attendance form, like the one right here. Maybe okay. Scan the QR code that's on. If it's not, I'll just send it in the chat. Like the EqualScore application form is if you want to like join our team as far as like social media, blog writing, and digital design and video things go. But the one that's on screen now should be the attendance form. Unless when I was making the PowerPoint, I put the wrong one, which I wouldn't doubt. Okay, no, the one that's on screen now is fine. Yeah, oh, and then if you guys are in the Miami area, that's another thing. We recommend you guys come in person. You guys are gonna have such a fun experience here. You'll get to see everyone up close and in person. Yeah, especially if you go to Matter. Come on, guys. Let's get let's get up and moving. Tristan, you want to say the message to someone?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple Matter kids, David Rodriguez, Jomar Rodriguez, Adrian Rodriguez, Megan Delgadillo, like, guys, you guys should come in person.
Yeah, you guys should join us in person. But if you guys got the attendance form, you got that, follow us on Instagram. That's the other thing. If you're not following on Instagram, like what are you doing?
Post daily.
We post daily.
You guys need to like and reshare. Okay, share it to all your friends, put it on your story.
Well, that's the other thing. So like I know. So basically, the way this started, I'm like, I don't know if you guys are interested, but whatever. Like, we started this like literally on the last day of school. So like, we sent out stuff to all the counselors from your school, but like a lot of you guys were like out for school already, like out of school already. So
yeah, we need you guys to help us grow.
So like, if you guys have friends, which I'm assuming all of you guys have friends, unless you don't have friends, then that's that. But share like the Instagram with your friends, and like tell them, hey, you guys should go to like the tutoring thing for the SAT. We're trying to grow as much as possible. If you don't go to Matter, like what we're trying to do eventually is like do like a 1 day thing at the different schools. So like we'll go to like Pinecrest, for example, on 1 day and then do the things in person there. We'll go to Drow Academy, we'll go to all the schools, like just depending on how many people show up, and we'll do an in-person session at the school, right? So that'll be great if you guys can like share that, and then make sure to just follow us on Instagram. All right. With that being said, unless anyone has anything else or any other question.
Wait for your question.
Anyone else? You guys are free to go.
Wait, except Evan.
Oh my god, it's a man. I'm studying.
I'm saying first time.
Gotta do my darn stadium homework.
Bye.
What did he say?
Oh my god. I know you haven't.